Hello there, Atheist Junior here, your friend and humble narrator, and I'm coming to you guys with a new live stream today. We're going to be looking at the Kentucky Atheist versus Kent Hovind debate. I was planning on streaming today, and I almost canceled it because literally this morning I was getting out of the shower and I just like slipped on the wet tile and basically fell on my ass. And I hurt my wrist, so that's why I got this thingy, just until I can get it looked at tomorrow, because it's been hurting. But I'm powering through the pain and suffering for you guys, for my viewers, my audience. I decided I'm gonna do the stream anyway. And yeah, I got my ibuprofen here in case I need it, and yeah, so. Kentucky Atheist, I believe this is his first time debating Kent. I don't know if this is his first debate on YouTube, but let me just say right off the bat, debating Kent is not easy. It's very difficult. And I'm gonna say to Joe that I'm gonna have some criticisms in this video. I'm gonna try to keep it constructive, but I'm definitely going to give my opinions. And then when I see things that I thought he did very well on, I'm going to highlight those too. So yeah, without any further time wasting, let's just get into it.
It's just not observable, which means it's not science. That's my contention. What is science?
Yeah, so I was going to do the stream right after Karisu's, but I ended up having to do some errands. And what happened basically was that by the time I was getting ready to do that stream, Kentucky Atheist was doing his fundraising stream for the ARC protests. So I didn't want to be streaming at the same time as that was going on. So it just kept getting pushed back. But we're doing it. We're doing it live.
Comes from the word ciencia, which means knowledge. Knowledge that's of testable explanation and the predictions about the world.
Oh, and let me just say that I skipped ahead a little bit in this video because Kent Hovind decided to give out Kentucky Atheist's last name on his slides, and he says it in this debate. I didn't even know his last name. I don't know how Kent got that information, but there's literally no reason for Kent to do that. He's done the same thing to me in several debates, and it's just purely childish because there's no reason for him to divulge that information. I never made my last name public. The reason that Kent got it is because of my Facebook page, which I had never publicly linked to my YouTube either. You know what I mean? It's just that, you know, his Flying Monkeys internet sleuths basically were able to put two and two together and figure out who I was. Not that it's that hard, but I don't even think it's that big of a deal that Kent has mentioned my last name. The point is just that I didn't choose to divulge that information. He took that choice away from me, basically. And he's doing the same thing here. So that's why I skipped ahead a little bit, just because there's no need for anybody to see that. And I don't want to have it on my video. It's just purely doxing. It just shows that he can't win on the argumentation. He can't win when it comes to actually intellectually honest debate tactics and, you know, debating in good faith. So he has to do these underhanded tactics like doxing and all his other, you know, debate tactics. It's just pathetic. It's really pathetic, Kent. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Religions also attempt to understand and explain the world. But religion is not considered a science. I agree. And evolution is a religion, not a science. You have to believe in evolution. Religion versus science differences. Primary difference between religion and science lies in the method of acquiring knowledge and their approaches to understanding the world. Science relies on empirical evidence and testable hypotheses, which can be verified through experiments and observations. I would say there is no experiment or observation that can verify evolution. Therefore, it's in the religion category, not the science category.
Oh, can you guys let me know how the audio is, by the way? Thank you.
Okay. The knowledge is subject to revision and improvement as new evidence emerges. In contrast, religion is based on faith and belief, often centered around sacred texts or spiritual experiences that are not subject to empirical testing. Religious knowledge is typically considered absolute and unchanging. Well, I believe by faith God made the world, And the evolutionists will never admit that they believe by faith a whole lot of things. Time, space, matter coming into existence from nothing, life getting started in a warm little pond, life changing to some other kind of living. They'll never admit that that's a faith because they know they lose their tax funding. Right now, they got all the taxpayers paying for their religion to be taught in their school system. And I'm going to fight that till I die. And when I die, my videos are going to keep going. So it won't do any good to kill me, guys. Okay, there we go. St. Darwin's Evolution Church.
Nobody's going to try to kill you, Kent. Like, are you that paranoid that you think you're some sort of target of assassination? Like, it's ridiculous.
Now, evolution is the substance of fossils hoped for, the evidence of links not seen.
Should I turn Kent's audio down? Because it was fucking loud in the last video and I felt kind of bad.
I love that. Dwayne's getting out. What is science? Knowledge gained through study. Knowledge system uses observation, experimentation to describe it.
This is what happens when you have a younger creationist install the Wi-Fi.
And explain natural phenomena. The term science refers to the organized body of knowledge people have gained.
Kent is like a god atheist. How do you figure?
I agree. I like science. I taught science 15 years.
No, you did not. That's a lie.
Evolution is not part of science. It's in the religion category, which is fine. I have a religion. I admit it. They have a religion and they won't admit it. That's the whole crux of this tonight.
No, you're just gaslighting. This is something that people who are abusive do, is they gaslight people. Usually it's in relationships, one partner will gaslight the other as a form of emotional and psychological abuse. They'll say that, oh, why don't you believe this thing, don't you? Why don't you just admit it? Why don't you just admit that you really think this? You know, just admit it. You believe this, don't you? Don't you? You're trying to put words in people's mouths and make them admit to something that, you know, they don't actually believe. Sorry, my stupid watch phone notifications are going off. Like, I can't admit to something that I don't believe, because admitting to something means that you're saying that it's true, I do think this, and you'd rather not because it's embarrassing. Like admitting that, I don't know, you peed your pants in the first grade or something, or last week. Like, you wouldn't want to admit that, but you know, if like your wife found, you know, your Hawaiian shirt and pants and they were covered in piss, you might have to admit, oh shit, I pissed myself last week. I was laughing so hard at my own jokes, I peed myself. I admit it. But if you didn't actually do it, then you have nothing to admit. Oh, you peed your pants, didn't you? Didn't you? Why don't you just admit it?
The scientific method, ways to solve a problem. Okay, make an observation, develop an idea, think of experiments, predict what will happen, observe what actually happens, and modify the predictions and start over if you need to. You have a prediction that cows will always produce cows.
Yeah, evolution doesn't say anything opposite of that. And Big Bad Mama, I sent you the StreamYard link on Facebook Messenger if you wanted to join. What is this internet? There's a glitch in the matrix. Oh, there's two Hovinds. Hey, you guys want to hear an impression of what Kent Hovind would sound like if he was a parrot? Not science. Not science. Hovind.
That's a religion. I wish you guys would just admit it. It's okay to have a religion. Don't be embarrassed. Okay? So make an observation, an idea. Why does it happen? I think there's something genetic. Think of experiments to test it. Okay, let's get a bunch of farmers all over the world to breed their cows and see what happens.
Why don't we get scientists to do tests and experiments, not farmers?
They always get cows. That's what actually happens. Modify predictions. We don't need to. They're all fine. So apes produce baby apes. That must be genetic. Keep letting them breed. Babies will be apes. They're always apes. Seems to always work.
And what about evolution disagrees with any of those steps?
Charts like this are not science, showing an ape-like creature turning to all the different kinds of humans. Everything they show is speculation, not science.
That's not true, because the skulls that are next to each of these humans are next to each of the bodies, we've found those skulls. where do you think they got these images of skulls from? It's because we've actually found the skulls. So how is that speculation?
No one has ever seen an ape produce a non-ape. These are just lines on paper is all they are. But if I told you questioning science is science, I agree. I love science. We should question it. See, evolutionists don't want theirs questioned. Questions. Do you agree the standard definition for science is not the knowledge man has accumulated by observation, experimentation, and testing? That's the standard definition, has been for centuries. So how do you define the word evolution? How do you define the word species? And what exactly is the evidence? Well, evidence comes in several different flavors. Any lawyer can tell you that. The available body of facts and information indicating whether a belief or position is true or valid. Now, in biology, ology means the study of, okay? From the Greek logos, which really means knowledge or the study of. Bio means life, so biology is the study of life, okay? So what is the evidence? Simple definition. It's a sign which shows that something exists or is true, okay? Evidence. That which tends to prove or disprove something, ground for belief or proof. There are 4 types of evidence. The 4 types of evidence by which facts can be proven or disproven. This is how they do it at trial. There's real evidence, demonstrative evidence. I can demonstrate it. You cannot demonstrate any animal producing a different kind of animal. You cannot demonstrate that. You cannot.
You can't demonstrate what the definition of a kind is.
Show me any real evidence. There's documentary evidence. Nobody's got proof. That's why they use the fossil record, as if that's a documentary evidence. We'll watch that. It'll happen tonight.
Okay, and when I asked Kent, what would you consider, like what would count as evidence, he got super pissed and butthurt. He got so mad that I was even asking him that question because he knows he can't answer it. Or I asked him, what would you accept as evidence of evolution? And he got really mad. Like, I think it frustrated him because that question is impossible for any creationist to answer because the answer is nothing.
Then there's testimonial evidence where somebody saw it. Some farmer said, man, my cows produced, a goat or something else.
What? Wait, what? Hold on.
Prove something, ground for belief or proof. There are 4 types of evidence. The 4 types of evidence by which facts can be proven or disproven. This is how they do it at trial. There's real evidence, demonstrative evidence. I can demonstrate it. You cannot demonstrate any animal producing a different kind of animal. You cannot demonstrate that. You cannot show me any real evidence. There's document.
Well, Kent's right there. You literally can't show Kent any evidence of one kind producing another kind because it's impossible to show something like that because kinds aren't a thing. And if you just replace the word kind with species, you'd never see one species produce another species. You'd never see one give birth to another species. You might see a species produce a different species over a long period of time, but that's because it's speciation, which happens gradually and which we've seen happen over the course of a human lifetime. And Kent cannot deny that that happens. I mean, he can deny that it happens, but he's full of shit.
Documentary evidence. Nobody's got proof. That's why they use the fossil record, as if that's a documentary evidence.
Hey, Pterodactyl Hunter. Thanks for always sending me super chats and super thanks. I appreciate that a lot.
Watch that. It'll happen tonight. Then there's testimonial evidence where somebody saw it. Some farmer said, man, my cows produced, a goat or something else. 3 primary standards of proof beyond reasonable doubt: preponderance of evidence and clear and convincing evidence. Okay. So levels of proof. If there's no evidence, he's not guilty. If there's a scintilla.
Well, we know when the King James Version was written, so.
A little bit. Reasonable suspicion, probable cause, preponderance, clear and convincing, reasonable doubt. None of those will make a person guilty in the court of law. Only convincing. There is irrefutable evidence. Evolution. The process by which different kinds of living organisms are thought to have developed and diversified from earlier forms. Well, they think it happened, and they have great faith. Congratulations. I appreciate your faith. It's not science, though. Gradual development of something, especially from simple to more complex. That has never been seen. You guys believe it happened, and you got your big chart saying it's showing out lines on paper. It's not science, though. It developed, it diversified from. Evolution is a process of gradual change that takes place over many generations, during which species of animals, plants slowly change some of their physical characteristics. See, it takes place over many generations, so you can't see it. Well, that makes it not science. symptoms, they rise, development, adaptation. In this section, we define evolution as modern biology as it applies to ecology.
Yay, we got Big Bad Mama here. How's it going, Big Bad Mama?
Hi, AJ. Thanks for having me on. Good to see you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming on. I know it's a bit late, but at least it's not like the other day when I was streaming at like 2 a.m.
Right. That surprised me. I thought you had the time wrong.
No, I just got a little bit. Sometimes I have insomnia and I get a little bit hyperactive, and then I'm like, I want to stream right now. But
good.
It's actually good because there was like several people who either are in way different time zones, or they were like, oh, I'm just getting up to get ready for work, and I saw that you were live. So there was actually a pretty good turnout.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people can't watch when you usually stream like in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we got Deviant Outcast.
Hi, Deviant. I saw a little bit of this debate.
Oh yeah, I saw the whole thing. So let's keep going.
Evolution is defined as a change in the inherited traits of a population of organisms through successive generations. I agree with their definition. Descent with modification from pre-existing species. Cumulative inherited change in a population of organisms through time, leading to the appearance of new forms.
Now, Big Bad Mama, do you see anything here that either mentions the term religion or gives anything like the definition of religion?
No, and the topic is evolution a religion, right? The name of the
yes.
debate.
Is evolution a religious cult?
Right. Yeah, I don't see anything there that has to do with religion.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like throughout the debate, Kent really he gish gallops from the moment the open discussion starts, and I felt like Kentucky Atheist didn't really keep Kent on topic. Like I felt like throughout the whole debate, they never really got to the topic about evolution being a religion.
Right. Well, Kent did get him off the topic pretty early on, and steer the topic toward the Big Bang, which he always does, which has nothing to do with evolution. But, you know, he did steer the conversation there for quite a while. That's the only part that I really saw. Did you notice that?
Absolutely. Like, right, you'll see right from the beginning of the open discussion, he completely is off on a completely different topic, talking about like cosmology and philosophy and what came before the Big Bang, which it just has nothing to do with the actual topic. That has to do more with Grayson's debate with him, where they were talking about the 6 steps of evolution.
Right. Which
debate, by the way.
Kent always tries to get everybody off on that 6 steps of evolution. And it's always good to just steer him off that from the beginning and just say that you're talking about the last 2 steps, micro and macro evolution, which he has as part of the 6 steps.
Yeah. You know, I had to say, Lupin actually said something that made me laugh a little bit the other day. He says, oh, Big Bad Mama, he's a geologist. He's got rocks in his head.
I didn't have anything to do with Lupin. How did I even come up, I wonder?
Oh, he does his, you know, every couple of days he does his streams where he just talks crap about atheists in general. And, you know,
he tries to get us to react and to go over.
Yeah.
The best thing that anybody can do is to ignore him completely.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I said. The only way to win is the only way to win the game is to not play.
Right.
Yeah. Alrighty. Let's keep going.
That's not observed. That's a religion. You believe that, and they believe it strongly. No question. A process of continuous branching and diversification from common trunks. This pattern of irreversible separation gives life history as basic directionality. So modification from, developed from, evolution, a gradual process in which something changes into a different and usually more complex or better form. Change in the genetic composition of a population during successive generations. This is what evolution teaches.
I really don't like that first definition because it can be gradual, but it has also happened in much faster time spans. Like we've seen speciation happen over the course of a human lifetime, and even faster with Chlamydomonas. And Kent can't deny that microevolution happens. And it's saying something like anything really. I mean, it'd be better talking about living organisms, and then saying that it's usually more complex or better. It's not necessarily better. It's just different.
Right. Right. Yeah. There's no better is like a judgment call on it, and it
More
is what
fit
it
would be
is.
better
I
to
mean,
say.
but you know, the first definition is just a generic definition of the word evolution, which can mean any change.
True.
Kent likes that definition because it fits his cosmic evolution or stellar evolution and those things. But it's really that third definition that's actually the closest to the theory of evolution. Hi, Stacy.
Hey, Stacy. That's a nice avatar.
Yeah.
Natural selection. Yeah.
And Kent
just not
agrees with that
observable.
definition. I'm sorry, AJ.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Kent agrees that microevolution occurs. He agrees that mutation occurs, even though he says it's like all detrimental mutations, but deleterious mutations. But he then will say evolution is 100% wrong. And he'll like label it as his belief is adaptation or whatever. He always tries to change his, try to change it around, but he actually does accept evolution.
Yep.
Complaint. Evolution. Science is knowledge gained from using observations. Where has anybody ever seen a dog produce a non-dog or a cow produce a non-cow? It doesn't happen. They believe it happens, and they say, oh, it's changed over millions of years. That takes it out of the realm of science. Wish you guys could just admit we have a religion. We believe. Yeah, it's fine. Have a worldview. I'm in favor of that. But if you believe you're related to a whale and a frog and but go ahead and believe that. These are the words they use, though. Developed from, changed, diversified from.
Did you hear what I said at the beginning of the stream, or did you just join?
No, I just joined.
Yeah, I actually hurt my wrist this morning, so that's why I've got this arm sling. So I'm toughing it out. I'm doing the stream anyway for the viewers. So I appreciate you.
That takes a lot. It takes some bravery.
Thank you.
Right. You don't know any of that. Did dinosaurs turn into birds? Yes, they turned into birds.
The link to join is pinned for anybody who wants to join, by the way.
Many scientists agree. This is not science. Okay.
Did you say something?
No.
Okay.
A lot of people agreeing does not make it science. Go ahead. Go.
All right, Joe, you'll have 10 minutes for your opening statement now.
Okay. First of all, I appreciate Kent having this conversation with me, and if Kent does manage to come to the Ark Encounter protest, I think we'll have some great conversations there as well. But this claim that evolution is somehow a religion is something that Kent has said a number of times, and I've just made a few basic points here to why I disagree with that. The first point I want to say is that evolution is based on science and not faith. Evolution is a scientific theory, meaning it's based on observable evidence, testing, and peer review. It explains how species change over time through processes like natural selection and genetic mutation. Science constantly updates this as new evidence comes in. Religion, on the other hand, typically involves faith belief in things that may not be observable or testable in the same way or any way at all. It makes predictions that can be falsified. A key feature of science is that theories must be falsifiable. You can test them, and they can be proven wrong. Evolution fits that mold. If evolution were false, it would be observed. But instead, we find extremely strong evidence in places like the fossil record, as Kent mentioned, DNA similarities, and observed changes in species, such as antibiotic resistance. Religion usually deals with metaphysical or moral truths that can't be tested in quite the same way. Evolution doesn't involve worship or a moral code. There's no holy book of Darwin, no rituals, no deity, no salvation. Evolution doesn't tell you how to live your life. It's a description of natural processes, not a prescription for behavior or ethics. How can a religion not have any adherents? When asked their religion, many, perhaps most people who believe in evolution will call themselves members of some mainstream religion, such as Christianity, Buddhism, or Hinduism. None identify their religion as evolution. If evolution is a religion, it's the only religion that is rejected by all of its members.
So I'm going to give Joe a little piece of advice here. I would advise. So he's clearly reading a script, you know, but
I mean, it's good.
I would say the talking points are good, but I would say to just slow down a little bit and try and take your time with each point you're making, because if you're just rattling off the notes that you did, it's sort of obvious that that's what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, the information is good, but the presentation could be tweaked a little bit, I think.
Right. I mean, he's getting a lot of information out there, and Hovind didn't even address the topic in his opening, I want to add. But I think, if Joe makes a point in his opening statement, he needs to follow that up in the debate. So it's kind of good to like limit the points you're going to bring up, because you want to cover those in more detail when you actually have the discussion with Kent. And, I'll see if he, I'm not sure if he gets back to a lot of these points or not, but he's making good points. I think it is just a lot of information in the intro.
Yeah, he's making good points. But in my experience with Ken Hovind debates, usually they become very repetitive, and you end up sort of arguing the same handful of talking points back and forth. So
right.
Usually, like, 75% of what you say in your intro is not going to be acknowledged by Kent. Not necessarily because he's doing anything wrong, but it's just the nature of the format. You know what I mean? You can only talk about so many things in a limited period of time. We got Deviant here. How are you doing, Deviant Outcast?
Hi, Deviant.
Hello. Hi.
Kent already knows what he wants to cover at this point,
I'm in my new hobby room.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yeah. Is it echoey?
You're a little quiet to my ears, but
it's not echoey.
Okay. Awesome.
All right.
But AJ,
oh yeah, go ahead.
I was saying that Kent already knows what he wants to cover in this debate, and so he's going to go back to those topics no matter what Joe says, because that's what he always does.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep going.
Evolution can be considered a religion in the metaphorical sense, something pursued with zeal or devotion. This, however, could apply to stamp collecting, watering plants, or practically any other activity. So when you call evolution a religion in this way, it effectively makes the word evolution meaningless, or religion meaningless, sorry. Also, Kent brought up the courts. In court cases, in the court case McLean versus Arkansas Board of Education in 1982, they also cited for precedent Epperson versus Arkansas, Willoughby versus Stever, Wright versus Houston Independent School District. These are all cited in assuming, for the purposes of argument,
Alien versus Predator, Brown versus Board of Education.
Kitzmiller versus Dover.
That's a good one. Yeah, 2005, where the judge, who was appointed by George W. Bush, ruled against the younger creationists.
Right.
Yep. That you have to respect him for that. I mean, clearly he didn't let his political bias influence his decision in that case.
No, that judge really went and got the details and learned a lot about the topic during that case. So when he came to his decision, he actually understood about evolution, because I think he put a lot of effort into understanding it.
Well, it didn't help that a lot of the creationist side didn't show up. You
had Michael Behe, I think, was their main person.
Yeah.
And, he was all about, I guess, irreducible complexity and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why are people so mean in the comments?
Who's being
Ignore the
mean?
comments when you're in the
No.
stream.
I don't
I'm
think.
joking. Introspective
Yeah.
Laura pointed out the talk I had with Joe in Egypt. And of course, Rishana comes back with ancient aliens.
That evolution is a religion or a religious tenet is a remedy to stop the teaching of evolution, but not establish another religion or opposition in its place. Yet it's clearly established in this case law, perhaps also in common sense, that evolution is not a religion. That's really all I got for my opening.
Can I just add that Joe looks kick-ass right now in that?
I mean, that is pretty cool. He's got his own merch. I need to get on that.
A black shirt,
Yes,
a black
please.
beanie with his, name and stuff. That's cool.
I mean, have you seen my past couple streams?
What were you
good.
wearing?
I looked good.
Okay.
Yeah, you did.
You do look good. You put some effort into it.
The stream yesterday, I was wearing a Hugo Boss shirt that I got at Neiman Marcus, and then the one before that, I was wearing Levi's shirt, and then a Levi's a jean jacket that I have that's black, and I was also wearing Levi's pants, but you couldn't see that.
Nice.
Although some people don't wear pants during debates, right?
I'm wearing underwear and a t-shirt right now.
Well, that's
I'm
the
not
magic
debating,
of YouTube.
Well,
Right.
I don't have to answer what I wear because you can clearly see my picture there.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, thank you for that. So,
I have a random question, Deviant, because I was actually wondering, I think it might come up during this debate, but would you say that ancient Egypt is the most widely studied ancient civilization, culture?
Yes.
Has the most number of people studying it? Or just, has the most effect in popular culture, people who are fascinated with it and
Yes.
people researching it? I would, okay,
Yes.
because I would definitely agree.
Absolutely.
Or Israel. I mean, that's obvious for obvious reasons. That's probably pretty popular, I would imagine.
Actually, the reason it came up is because somebody asked a very good question at the beginning of the Q&A. They're asking, how does Kent account for the fact that we have unbroken records from Egypt, from China, from a couple other civilizations? And basically, Kent just says, "Oh, well, those are exaggerated,"
Yeah.
He says,
Yeah,
Egypt, they got their timeline wrong, and they don't record, in terms of Exodus, they don't record their losses and that kind of
which
rubbish.
isn't true.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, I was thinking when I heard Kent say that ancient Egypt is one of the most carefully studied ancient civilizations out of any of them, so
And I mean,
to say
you
that,
mentioned,
sorry, go ahead, Deviant.
yeah, you mentioned ancient Israel there, and for sure, because of the significance that Israel has had on the three major monotheistic religions, of course there is a great interest to excavate and study that area. But since the history of the Israelite and the Hebrew people is not, it's not a coherent, it's not one people group. They were moving around a lot. The Egyptians, they found their paradise on earth in the Nile Valley, and they stay there. And they built up this fantastic infrastructure and culture, which has left. And of course, with the climate that is there today, there is so much material. We know more about ancient Egypt than practically any other culture up until, let's say, what I call modern time, but it's not modern history in the academic sense. But like the 1700s, the 1600s, the Renaissance.
The modern era. One term I've heard them called is the Abrahamic religions, since they all kind of share the same God in a way.
Yeah.
They might not agree. I don't think that they would agree with your description of them all being monotheistic, because Muslims think that Christians are polytheists because of the Trinity, which I can see their argument.
Yeah, and I think Jews, at least some groups of Jews, hold that position as well.
I mean, they never had an empire, whereas Egypt had an actual empire. But, you know, the closest they got was maybe what's described in David and Solomon. But I think those were like overhyped in the Bible compared to what the reality was.
Yeah, and also they didn't have this concept of the afterlife that the Egyptians had, so they didn't build. And the same goes for like the entire Mesopotamian area, or
Era or
no, it's the Mesopotamia is the
civilization.
geographic
Yeah.
part. They built mainly in mud bricks, and then they had floods, and then they had to rebuild their mud brick structure. So they built even like temples and such in mud bricks. The Egyptians built in mud bricks as well, but they had controlled flooding, and they built their monuments in stone because it was for the forever. And of course, they couldn't really build in wood, because have you seen Egypt?
It's mostly sand.
Yep. Not much
Which,
wood.
I mean, sand. What is sand, Big Bad Mama?
What about it? What sand?
It's just.
I mean, sand is a certain
rocks.
grain size. Is that what you're saying?
But really, it's
There's
just
clay,
really
silt, and sand. It's just like rock that's been ground down to a certain particle size.
Yeah. Oh, from A1 Chiefs fan for $20. We have a super chat. It says, "Hi AJ, great to catch you on a live stream. Hope you're doing well." Well, thank you, Chiefs fan. You've always been very generous with the super chat, so I really appreciate that.
That's cool, Chiefs fan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I interrupted you, Bad Mama, but we should get back to the video.
Yeah, let's keep going.
If you want to give back the remainder of your time, we can go ahead and head into the cross-examination phase. What we're going to do is Dr. Hovind is going to have 10 minutes to ask very short, precise questions to the Kentucky Atheist. And Kentucky Atheist will give very short answers if possible. Try to keep your answers under 30 seconds or, a minute at very most. And then after 10 minutes, you will have 10 minutes to question Dr. Hovind, Joe. All right, so Dr. Hovind, you have now 10 minutes to question the Kentucky Atheist.
All right, well, thank you. A definition of religion: a belief in and reverence for a supernatural power or powers regarded as creating and governing the universe. What do you believe brought the universe into existence?
I don't believe that any particular thing brought it into existence. It seems that matter is something that has existed and changes forms.
AJ, can you pause
also
it real
follows
quick?
through with our laws of thermodynamics.
So right there, he should have stopped it and just said, Kent, we're talking about the theory of evolution. The theory of evolution is this, and the topic is evolution a religion? It has nothing to do with cosmology.
Right. Like I said, immediately, right away, Kent is just getting into the weeds. And if Joe does another debate with Kent, I would really my advice to him would be, don't let him control the flow of the debate like this, because you don't want to just be. I mean, technically, this is Kent's time to ask questions, but like you said,
It has to be on
really
topic.
not on topic. Yeah, and really, like, this first definition totally debunks Kent's whole argument.
Right.
So
because it
I
talks about
would dump, you know,
supernatural power. I mean,
yeah. No, well, the big thing is that it's something that created the universe, and
right.
biological evolution is a scientific theory that has nothing to do with the creation of the universe. But you know, as we know, Kent has warped the definition or added definitions to make it a religion, in the sense that he says the Big Bang is also part of evolution, because he's got to make it sync up with his religious beliefs.
Yeah, he has to make it sync up with God, and he also brings up a topic that scientists don't have all the answers for, which is, you know, the origins of the universe. And so he needs to bring it back there to, first of all, to get away from the question of evolution, and then to put it in the realm of the supernatural, or try to.
Yeah, I mean, none of these definitions describe evolution. But
No.
Deviant, did you want to add anything before I click play again?
Yeah, I wasn't it said by someone that Kent at one point had admitted that the whole thing with 6 stages of evolution or whatever was something that he made up to annoy the atheist that he debated?
I heard that
I'm not
somewhere.
sure.
I did hear that somewhere. And then somebody else asked him if I think it was Grayson, if the 6 stages of evolution were modeled after the 6 days of creation, and Kent denied that. But that was a good question, I thought.
It was,
Yeah.
but he also came. The topic also came up of, did Kent create the 6 stages? And Kent really wouldn't answer the question that Grayson
Right.
asked him, because you
Right.
know, he can't. Obviously, he got all of his argumentation from Dwayne Gish and from
Henry
Institute for
Morris.
Creation Research. Yeah, Henry Morris. So he can't say, "Oh, I made up the 6 stages of evolution," because that sounds bad. But he also doesn't want to admit that he got basically all of his stuff from other people, you know?
Right.
Of course.
We have a super chat from Roshina. Roshina, hashtag upset Keller for $4.99. It says, the theory of relativity is a supernatural power. Hail Einstein. I can't speak words today. I can't words for garbage. But thank you for the super chat, Roshina. You
Thank
are
you.
also very generous, and one of my.
She makes some great AI.
Yeah,
videos, by
I've
the
seen
way.
that. I've
They're
seen that.
hilarious.
Well, don't you know that every time you generate an AI image, it uses as much electricity as charging your phone?
So where did this matter come from, and where did the energy come from?
Why does it have to come from somewhere?
So just if it's always been, then we have a problem with the laws of thermodynamics, like you mentioned, with everything winding down. How can the sun still be hot? How can the stars still be giving off heat? How can the planets still be giving off heat? If it's eternal, they would have cooled off long ago.
There are lots of stars that have cooled off and died. Like,
Right.
that's happened. It doesn't, you know, stars can
A
exist
lot of
within a
stars.
universe, you know?
And what's it have to do with evolution? I mean, every one of this first part is all about cosmology.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, it can still change forms, and entropy doesn't negate the possibility of there being organized places where things come together in complex ways.
Well, you're saying that, but where's the evidence for that? All observable scientific evidence says everything's falling apart. Everything gets worse with time.
Well, if you go on to read further into that, it does explain that you actually expect complexity to be part of that. It's not just everything starts from one position and goes to another. There's lots of steps and things involved in that. It's part of thermodynamics.
Well, I taught physics for years. I'm pretty well aware of all this, but you say there would be if there's generally chaos reigning over everything, things gradually falling apart, coming unglued, there would be little pockets where it would reverse, would the opposite would take place, which I know is what you guys believe.
Well, it's not so much that I speak about chaos. That
what Kent is saying here is that there are times when a glass of tea that shatters on the ground will come back together and reassemble itself as a perfectly normal cup of steaming hot tea on the table. That doesn't happen. Like, we don't see entropy reverse itself in the way that he's describing.
Right.
I'm sure Kent would like that to be possible, so he could, like Cher said, if I could turn back time over and not go to jail.
it's places of higher energy moving to places of low energy, right? And in the course of doing that, there's no place where it doesn't allow for there to be complexity involved in the total picture of that. So the overall picture of the universe, if you're looking at the universe as a whole, you would say that, yeah, everything's moving to this state. But you can still have star creation, galaxy creation, and everything as it does that. And those things begin to move towards that state as well. None of that violates the laws of thermodynamics.
Well, again, you're saying that this has never been observed, and science is what we can observe. That's why you just demonstrated, I think, that you believe that, which makes it part of a religion. It's not scientifically observable. Nobody's ever seen this. How did a Big Bang, which spread...
Sorry.
No,
this has bothered me for quite a while. To observe something doesn't necessarily mean that you are standing there in a room looking at it while it's happening.
Well, and also we can observe stars at every we can observe stars being born now. We can observe middle-aged stars like our sun, older stars that are red giants, and then white dwarfs. And we can observe those now, so we know the sequence of what happened in the past. That's observable. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I mean by observable. Doesn't mean that you have to stand in a room and look at it with your eyes.
right.
So as if it was, I don't know, this old suitcase from 1950.
It's like we can observe fossils, and they're still observable now, but from that we can tell about things that happened in the past.
Yeah, this is just another example. Okay, I thought I was muted. This is another example of how certain terms have a colloquial definition and then a scientific definition, because the scientific definition of observation is just any information or data gathered using your senses or scientific instruments to perceive and record details about a phenomenon or object, either during an experiment or when you're gathering information to form your hypothesis. So that's basically the foundation of all scientific inquiry, is observing things. And like you said, you can observe things in the present, but we can also observe things that are from a very, very long time ago, like fossils. And we can observe the effects that things happen, even if we can't see them directly.
Yeah.
Right. And we're still seeing them now. Do you know what I mean? Like fossils we're studying now, we are observing them. So there is observation going on. When we take, when we date a volcanic rock, we observe the dating of that rock, the collecting of the sample and the dating of that to get the radiometric, date. And so all that stuff is observable. It tells us about the past, but it's something that we're doing now. So Kent never kind of can grasp that, I don't think.
Oh, we have another super chat from Roshina for $9.99. It says, "We have seen entropy spontaneously reverse on the small scale. The laws of thermodynamics only really hold on the whole and in isolated systems. We don't even know if the universe is truly isolated. And I read that whole thing without messing up.
Good
Well
job.
done.
Thank you. Oh, we got Kentucky Atheist in the chat.
Ooh, hi, Joe.
I got this.
Hey,
The
Joe.
stream link is pinned if you want to join us, Joe. But yeah, let's keep going.
Spreads things out like fragments
Thank you for the super chat, though, Vershin. I really appreciate that.
from a hand grenade. How did those pieces ever get together out in space? They get further apart like spokes on a bicycle wheel. How do you get stuff? We know there's a lot of stars out there, 70 sextillion that we know of.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stars.
See, I really dislike how Kent does this. He'll ask a question and just keep on going and not even give the person a chance to answer it.
Right. He's eating up
One
the time
topic at a
clock, which he
time.
always does. I mean,
Yeah,
he's doing
seriously.
it. He does it like every time he talks about there's 12 types of oak tree, and then he'll like rattle off about 6 or 7
Yeah,
different
seriously.
species, and it eats about 2 minutes of time when he does that.
I know. It's so obnoxious. It really is. I don't know. There's no way you would remember this, I don't think. But do you remember a long time ago when Kent made a video about Aaron Ra and Vice Rhino? Or maybe it was specific. I know Vice Rhino was in the video, and he was going through different like sections of, you know how he says, oh, you know, we organize the screws and we organize the hammers in our shop, like, you know, as comparing it to taxonomy. And but he was talking about Walmart. Oh, they have this section here for you know, sporting goods, or this section for socks, or for groceries. And like he was just doing that same analogy of, oh, like these things are organized, and I'm comparing that to the way that animals are organized. But he went through like 45 different examples. Like like it took so long. Even at the end, this is when Cindy was still there. Cindy was like, okay, Ken, I think we get it. Like
that is so annoying. And he just eats up all the time.
That's his
you know?
classical. He eats up time, and he exhausts both his audience and his opponent, so that once it's their turn, they have a hard time remembering where
Yes.
did all this start and what was I gonna say, because their mind has started to float away into Walmart and what they're gonna shop, and that time they saw an ugly kid in the ball pin.
Yeah,
pen.
the ball pen.
The ball pen.
Yeah, this reminds me of this episode of The Simpsons where Marge is like, she has to like pass the time or something. So she's like, I'm going to think about products I'd like to purchase. I do love shopping, though. I'll admit that.
It's okay.
Alrighty. Yeah, yeah. So my advice to Joe here: if this comes up again, this is where you yell, "Gravity, gravity!"
Well,
like,
you start talking about evolution. Get him onto evolution. I mean, that's the.
Yeah, seriously.
Keep him on the topic, because if you do keep him on the topic, it actually gets him off his script just automatically.
Yeah.
Did this happen that 70 sextillion times? It overcame the laws of thermodynamics?
The Big Bang describes the expansion of space and time, not necessarily like an explosion. Just the rapid expansion of space and time, which after it cooled a little bit, allowed hydrogen atoms to be able to gather and form the first stars. And then things like gravity and the other forces kick in at that point.
So where did these laws like gravity come from? Is there a
Joe's doing
lawgiver,
really
or that's
good.
just...
Say that again?
Joe's doing really good with his answers that he's giving.
Yeah.
It's just that they shouldn't be discussing cosmology at this point. You know, they should be on the topic of evolution. But, you know, the answers he's giving are good.
Yeah, since Joe is watching now, I will say, Joe, you're way, way too nice to Kent in this debate. And I just hate to see that. I really do.
That's a solid criticism.
Where did that law?
It's
Why do they attract each other?
it's the laws. Those laws are the physical description of how those things work. We observe that in every case. So it's not.
All right.
Yeah.
I agree. All particles seem to attract each other. That's the law of gravity, okay? But why don't they repel each other? Why aren't they just neutral? Why are they attracted?
can
Who
in some
made
cases.
gravity? What's that?
They can in some cases.
Well,
Gravity.
who-
So I told this to Joe on Messenger after I watched the debate last night, but the answer here is the strong nuclear force. That's what keeps particles held together in the nucleus of atoms. And Kent knows this. I mean, he did a whole video about it that me and Grayson and I think Mark Reed responded to. I know me and Grayson responded to it, and Kent literally thinks that it's not the strong nuclear force that keeps atoms together; it's Jesus.
And when
even
he says
kidding.
who made gravity, it's
Yeah.
like it's assuming there's a who.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just a totally loaded question.
That's a good thing you need to do is call him out on that. I forgot to tell Kentucky Atheists because we talked for like 5 minutes before the debate started. But if you debate him again, which I think he should, you know what I mean? I mean, nobody should debate Kent, but I would like to see him debate Kent again. But if you do, I definitely would want to do a longer debate prep because I forgot to tell him my acronym for debating Kent, which is ABCKO. Always be calling Kent out.
I'd like to talk to Joe before he debates Kent again. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, this is like a debate prep, you know, where I'm telling him all the mistakes that he made, and I'm being as cruel as possible, you know.
It's
But
like a debate prep, only it's public and he wasn't specifically invited. And
well,
also you hoped he was going to be sleeping and you're mean.
right.
I hope
In
Joe's
this
not watching
analogy,
this.
sorry, Joe is like Kent, and I'm like Kent's dad with a paddle on top of the refrigerator.
Which he did have.
Oh, Claude Balls, if you want to join us too. I remember Kent mentioned Claude at the beginning of this debate, I think, or in another video I watched. He mentioned him. Oh no, it was when you called in. He said, "Oh, Creationist Crybaby, is he going to use his real name this time, or no? Is that Claudie Balls?"
Right.
When you called
That
in
was
and there was
funny.
a delay.
That was so annoying. I still thought I made some good points in that discussion, though.
Yeah, you did. I like how you cut the conversation off. But yeah, let's keep going on the video.
Gravity is actually responsible for a lot of things spreading out in the universe because it can have a repellent activity depending on the situation. Special
That's a new one to
situation.
me.
Look into it.
Well, yeah, Cartesian physics, 15 years. I'd say I'd have to disagree with that. So do you?
Shut up.
15 years.
So obnoxious.
God, I'd love to interview somebody that had his physics class.
Yeah, seriously.
Mhm.
I think I have. I do have some of the videos of Kent teaching about space and his homeschool videos, teaching about
Right.
space, teaching math, and I do. So you know, you could say that he did teach physics, but it was more like he just got a bunch of kids in his living room and just read like the basics about physics from a textbook to them, and then also added a bunch of religious crap on top of that wasn't true.
But I mean, if he taught biology for 15 years, he taught math for 15 years, and he taught physics for 15 years, how does that work?
Yeah, like he said a long time ago, he was doing a Whacking Atheist on Rachel Oates, and I think Kent was trying to impress her, and so he said, "Oh, I taught um, biology. I taught algebra, geometry, trigonometry, physical science, earth science, and some other science and physics." And it's like, Kent, how did you teach this many different subjects in 15 years? You must have been teaching them simultaneously. Like, most teachers get an education to teach one subject, like math or, English. There's nobody that's that qualified that could teach that many different subjects, unless you're talking about like a very low level grade or remedial classes, like how a coach will teach geography.
Right.
At least that's what happened in my high school. The PE coach was my geography teacher one year, and he just gave us the answers from the back of his workbook for the tests. Like,
Our
or
PE
he didn't give
teacher
us the answers.
taught sex ed.
Oh, really? Yeah, that happens too. That's appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Oh, yeah, Kent's muted or something. There's some lag in this stream.
And there is such a thing as time. There is such a thing as time, and we seem to be moving through time in one direction. You can't go back. So I'd like to ask, where did time, space, and matter come from?
Well, time and
I mean, it's a perfect opportunity to try and get Kent back on the original topic of the debate, which I don't think has been touched on.
No. Oh.
And I mean, really, does the topic of any Kent Hovind debate really matter? I mean, every single Kent Hovind debate is going to spiral off into these other things, but it is good at some point. You got to wrangle him in, which really Bolin should be doing here. He's
right,
extremely hands off as a moderator, which can be a form of good moderation in its own way. Like, I do think that he did a pretty decent job here of sort of just letting them go at each other, and he didn't really do anything that I found offensive as a moderator, but he also was very hands off. So it was kind of like how SFT moderates my debates,
Right. It's up to the moderator, though, to bring it back to topic. And it just shows that he doesn't know the topic either.
Right. And, him calling him Dr. Hovind, it's like he's clearly biased towards Kent,
Right. Well, he lives there.
Yeah.
Oh, he still does? I thought he left
back.
in some sort of huff. Oh, wow.
He came back. He is trying to live inside Kent's colon.
He's like, the Godfather. Every time I think I'm out, Kent pulls me back in.
Space are part of the same thing, and
my wrist
are the
freaking
fabric
hurts.
of our universe, and the Big Bang explains the expansion of that. Where
I'm probably going to go tomorrow.
Yeah, you probably need an X-ray.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get an X-ray. I don't know if you saw Deviant, but I was saying at the beginning of the stream that I slipped and fell this morning, and I sort of broke my fall on my wrist, and I didn't really think anything of it because I'm a man and we just ignore pain, it's like, kids these days they're so weak, back in my day we were real men. We just died. We didn't go to the doctor,
Right.
But it throughout the day it just kept hurting, and then it started to get worse. So
is it swollen, or
I was gonna ask, is it swollen?
I don't think, I'm sure it is. I'm gonna get an ice pack, actually. I forgot to do that, but it's not swollen badly, but I'm sure compared to my other wrist it's a little bit swollen.
Yeah, I mean,
why don't you go get an ice pack and you can play the
like
debate and then go get an ice pack for it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I'll be right back.
that originally came from, there are some people that say it may be eternal. There's other theories of that. Honestly, I don't know, but just because I don't know doesn't mean I prescribe a supernatural solution.
That's true. Yep, I agree. A lot of things I don't know. Gee whiz. Well, I've always for years have said there are 6 different levels or stages of evolution. The first one being the cosmic evolution, the origin of time, space, matter. So if you want to say, I don't know, that's fine, because I don't think I do either, other than I believe by faith, God created time, space, and matter. And he said that in 10 words in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, time, God created the heaven, that's space, and the earth, matter. He made those three, and he made them in that order. Because you have to have space before you have matter. Because if you had matter before there was space, where would you put it? So you're admitting, I think, that you do not know where time, space, matter came from, which again, you have to have those three things for evolution to take place. What is evolving? And
So
they keep relying on millions of years. That you're relying on time. Who made time?
well, time is part of space, and again, like I do say I don't know because we can figure out what happened in the first few Planck seconds of the expansion of the universe, but before that we don't really know. And because of the nature of space and time, it's kind of silly to say things like outside or before when you're talking about time beginning, and it doesn't seem that makes a lot of logical sense. So again, there's some people that say it's eternal, but I don't think that's something that we can know actually.
Well, currently the public schools are teaching using this poster. Thousands and thousands of students see this, that the universe began from a big bang 13.772 billion years ago, whatever it is now. 20 years ago was 20 billion years ago. They change the number all the time. Okay. But the universe began, let's see, biological evolution. There's the time, space, and matter all began with a big bang. In a fraction of a second, the universe grew from
Wasn't
smaller
one
than
of
an
the
atom to
criteria
bigger than a
Kent gave
galaxy.
in the beginning
Would
for
you
a
agree, if it
religion
took place in a fraction of a
being
second,
that they
that all
didn't
the matter
change?
that makes up these galaxies has to be
He's
moving
now
faster than the
complaining
speed of light
that
for
Um,
that statement to be
Wait
true?
a minute, Deviant.
changes.
I
I
can't.
think
I
that
can't hear
that's
you. Wait
not a
till
problem when we observe.
AJ can pause
Yeah.
The
it.
further we look out in the universe, we see we think beyond that point that space and time is moving faster than the speed of light, which is allowed with time and space because it's not matter, it has no mass.
But again, this is theoretical. This is something you believe is
Sure.
not observable. Let's do another Big Bang.
No, there's lots of math and observations that go into this, but to say that we have a definitive answer for where everything came from, we don't. And I have no problem admitting that. My
Good.
issue is the reverse of that, where we have people who believe in a religion saying that their religion tells them that they do know where these things came from, when really they're in the same boat.
Well, they're not quite in the same boat, because I believe God created time, space, matter. And I don't demand that everybody pay for that to be taught in the public schools and public museums. You guys want your religion taught in the public schools, and only your religion. You want kids taught this kind of chart stuff. Here we go. Time, space, and matter all began with the Big Bang. This is public school textbooks. This is not science, and it shouldn't be taught. The Big Bang has nothing to do with science. It's not observable, testable, demonstrable. You may believe in it. That's all I've been asking for a long time. Would you guys just admit?
Okay. Hope that wasn't too long.
No, no.
You guys can make your comments.
Go ahead, Deviant.
Yeah, I was just saying because Kent was complaining that I believe it was the age of the universe, like 20 years ago it was yada yada, and then they changed it as of course being something negative, that science sometimes corrects itself. But in the very beginning, when he was rambling on, he was giving like the criteria for a religion, and one of them were that they have like set beliefs that are absolute and doesn't change over time. So in that instance, he tried to use it as proof that evolutionary biology and the theory of evolution is a religion. But now he's using it as
Contradicting himself.
Exactly. And or saying religion is bullshit.
Right.
But he does this a lot, where he's not as concerned with what did I say about this before. He kind of changes the the parameters around him, so to speak, so that it suits the moment. And he uses other techniques to make people not able to follow his train of thought and make it coherent, so people don't pick up on these contradictions, which is why I think, I'm not sure it's the best technique when you're debating him, but I think it is something that's good to point out when you talk to people who are convinced by Kent. So not in a debate setting, but pointing to the inconsistency and the goalpost that changes so quickly that you have no idea which sport Kent is playing. He's just pretending that he knows himself, even though he doesn't.
Well, he always complains about one topic only, yet he just goes from one topic to another. And he's still talking about the Big Bang. I mean, he's been talking about the Big Bang the entire time. And the Big Bang is not the topic of the debate.
Oh, and the other thing that he contradicted himself on was he was saying at the beginning in his opening statement, he was saying questioning science is science. Well, questioning the age of the universe and it being updated, shouldn't that fall in line with that, with science? Like, isn't that a good thing?
Right.
Yeah. So he's just all over the place, Kent. He will, whatever argument suits him in that moment, he will. It's kind of like 1984, like he'll, something will be the truth, and then a moment later it'll be discarded as, it's actually a lie, and it was never true. And then when it needs to be recalled again, that thing that was a lie will be brought up back, and this is actually the truth, and it's always been this way. Like East Asia has always been at war with Eurasia, and it was never, the other way around. Even though, it's just he basically is committing doublethink. It's double Hovind, double Kent.
Admit this is something you take by faith, and let's get it out of the textbooks. I don't think we should teach any religions in public school. I don't think we should have public schools, okay? Certainly not run by the federal government. If we're going to have them, then if you're going to teach one religion, teach them all. But right now we got to.
See right there. This is where he really needs to be challenging what Kent is saying here, because it's a pet peeve of mine when Kent brings up that, we're not asking for our theory to be taught, a taxpayer expense argument. It really bothers me, because I made a video when I first started my channel that was titled Kent Hovind's Biggest Lie, which I think is that right there. The biggest thing that he lies about is the fact that he's not trying to remove evolution from science textbooks and replace it with his own very specific form of younger creationism. Mm-hmm. And it's just so annoying, but yeah.
He wants to make it seem like he's, I'm fair. I don't want religion taught in school, and I don't want evolution taught in school. But yeah, Kent has put a lot of effort to having creationism taught in school. His homeschooling stuff is an effort to put creation into schools. They just happen to be homeschools, right?
Yeah, because he made DVDs out of those homeschool lessons that feasibly you could show to other homeschool kids or show in a public school. And as Grayson pointed out, which I was so proud of him for, when Kent tried to pull this, he literally called him out saying, Kent, you have a DVD called Public School Presentation.
Right. That was good.
I am definitely taking credit for that argument. I'll take credit for that one, and the argument about because me, Mark Reed, and Grayson did debate prep before that debate, which I consider to be probably the best Kent Hovind debate ever. The best debate
yeah.
I've seen against Kent, the last Grayson debate. And I love that he fired back on that point because I forgot what I was going to say. It'll come back to me.
A system where we teach one and only one religion, evolution, and that's
Another good way to fire back at him is when he says, "Oh, we can teach multiple religions." Just ask him, "Okay, would you be comfortable if kids, specifically your kids, were taught Islam in public schools?" You know, because Kent hates Muslims.
Right.
just I resent that. Kept growing and expanding till today. So everything began as a dot. So I'd like to point out, as far as the audience here, that cosmic evolution is taken by faith. It has never been observed. It's something you believe happened. There was a Big Bang. Time, space, matter was just there somehow. Might have been eternal, might have came from nothing. Either way, it's not science. It's not observable, testable. You can't demonstrate it. You can't do an experiment on it. Then you'd have to have stars forming. Number two, nobody's ever seen a star form. What evidence do you have of observation of a
AJ, can you
star
stop
forming?
it for a second?
Besides, seeing a spot get brighter doesn't mean you know a star's forming.
So Kent's on to number two, but he spent all that time talking about his first step of evolution. So yeah, he's just wasting time going from one step to another. And the debate will be over by the time they actually get to evolution. If you follow Kent's script.
Yeah, seriously. Because, I think throughout the debate, I think Kentucky Atheist calms down, and because I think he was pretty nervous at the beginning, which is totally understandable. I definitely was in my first debate against Kent, and I have an anxiety attack the day of every time I debate Hovind. I always have terrible anxiety leading up to the debate, no matter how much I've prepared for it. So I get it, but it seems like, and this happens to me too, and probably most debaters, is as the debate goes on, you sort of cool off, and so I think he calmed down, and I think as his argumentation got better and better, you can see Kent really goes out of his way to overtalk Joe. As you get later in the open discussion, you'll see it. It's pretty obnoxious.
And he knows he has a moderator who's, a cult member, basically, or a moderator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's basically like a straw man, or like a fence post. He just kind of does nothing.
How did the matter get together if it's spreading out radially from an explosion or a rapid expansion? How does it get closer together to be attracted by gravity and get into a ball?
How does it get closer together to be attracted by gravity? Oh boy.
All this is like
Kent's
such
so smart.
bullshit.
Yeah, there's so many things wrong with just everything he said there. It's like, we don't even have time to go into it, That's his gish gallop,
Totally.
That's actually one of the major mechanisms that makes stars come to life, is because whenever we have these dust clouds, we do see like star nurseries is what they call them, and these dust clouds begin to collapse because of gravity, which is what we would expect to see. And then as those,
that's time. You can finish answering, but that's time.
Yeah.
Okay. As that dust continues to compact itself, eventually gravity overcomes the force of those atoms splitting, and that's what a star is. That's how it works.
All right, thank you for that, Kentucky Atheist. So now we're going to begin your cross-examination time. You now have 10 minutes to question Dr. Hovind. Try to make your questions comprehensible, and Dr. Hovind, try to keep your answers short, and go.
Okay. Why
What?
Is it paused or?
Sorry, I was muted. No, I was just gonna say that I thought it was funny that he says, "Oh, Dr. Hovind, try to keep your answers short," as if Kent is capable of doing that.
Right.
And you know, just remember as you're watching the next segment, panel members and audience members, that this is supposed to be Joe, his time to cross-examine Kent and ask him questions. So let's see if the format holds up. Spoiler alert, it does not.
Like, okay, first, do we see anybody that like worships evolution, or what is the god they're worshiping within evolution?
I would say it's time. They think time.
See, I wish you just would have kept it at that first question, you know, because that first
Right.
question was really good. But yeah, that's just a minor nitpick.
If you ask them, how could this change to this? Their answer always involves an answer or something involving time over billions of years. So they really count on time being able to accomplish things that we can't observe. We don't see any animal change to something else. So they say, well, over millions of years it happened. So time is certainly one of them. Mutations would be another one. They think mistakes in the gene code can create something new.
Right.
That's never been observed.
So time is one of the major pillars of evolution.
Right.
Deep time. So we don't see people worshiping time or praying to time, or in fact, many Christians hold the same belief, and Christianity is their religion, not evolution. And I think that, well, I'll just let you respond there because it's a question.
I have agreed all forever. Christianity is a religion. Yeah. I would like you guys to admit that evolution is also a religion and get it out of the schools. Go start private schools.
Why do you want to call evolution a religion?
Because it is. It's taken by faith. We don't see any animal. Every farmer on the
you see the Gish Gallop happening in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's just I'm going to rewind it a second and just pay attention to how Kent answers this question, because he gives an answer that's basically one sentence, and that sentence ends with a period, and then he says like 3 or 4 more sentences, you know.
Yeah.
For millions of years it happened. So time.
Thank you for that, Kentucky Cross.
Do we see anybody that like worships evolution, or what is the god they're worshiping within evolution?
I would say it's time. They think time. If you ask them, how could this change to this? Their answer always involves an answer or something involving time over billions of years. So they really count on time being able to accomplish things that we can't observe. We don't see any animal change to something else. So they say, well, over millions of years it happened. So time is certainly one of them. Mutations would be another one. They think mistakes in the gene code can create something new.
Right.
That's never been observed.
So time is one of the major pillars of evolution.
Right.
Deep time. So we don't see people worshiping time or praying to time, or in fact, many Christians hold the same belief, and Christianity is their religion, not evolution. And I think that, well, I'll just let you respond there because it's a question.
I have agreed all forever. Christianity is a religion. Yeah. I would like you guys to admit that evolution is also a religion and get it out of the schools. Go start private schools.
Why do you want to call evolution a religion?
Because it is. It's taken by faith. We don't see any animal. Every farmer on the planet in recorded history will tell you he's never seen a cow produce a non-cow or even start to produce a non-cow. They now have 450 breeds of cows. Some give more milk, some give more beef, some stand the heat better, stand the cold better, but they're always cows, and it's predictable. So that's observable. That's science.
So
I'm going to say something nice about Joe here. I think he did a good job of cutting Kent off there before he could really get his Gish Gallop going. So I commend you for that, Joe. That was a good job.
Yeah, and he's asking questions that are on topic, which is excellent.
Yeah. Another thing is, as you're watching this part, let's see if Kent asks Joe any questions, which he's not supposed to. I can't remember if he does, but I'm pretty sure he does.
Let me just add one thing. I mean,
Yep.
Kent is talking about time. Time is part of everybody's life. It's not just part of evolution. It's part of our lives as individuals, and it's part of reality. So, that would mean that everybody would worship time, not just people studying evolution. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Something
exactly.
existing isn't something being worshipped.
Right.
There's no like
Yep.
it's just nonsense arguments from Kent's side, where he's trying to conflate meaning of words and twist the narrative into something that is so far removed from actual reality that it's freaking obnoxious.
Even though you believe that evolution is based on faith, do you accept that the claims of evolution are like put through the scientific process, through the scientific method?
No, because the scientific method is observation, experimentation, and testing. Let's take something that has a very short generation time, like bacteria. They're born, grow up, get married, have babies in 8 hours. You get 3 generations a day. Now that we can observe. And they have done studies for years on bacteria, trying to make them do something else. But the chart shows it's not observable.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, so the chart you guys believe shows bacteria turning to humans and everything else. It's this magical. These charts that are in all our public school textbooks have a single-celled creature of some kind, protozoa, bacteria, whatever.
So Kent is a little bit off in his calculation there, because E. coli bacteria can duplicate every 20 minutes. So I think that would be more than 3 generations a day.
I would also like to point out that for someone who claims to be so into science and it's being so important,
I like science.
Science is
Sorry.
that science is what science is and nothing else. He uses the words about bacteria, grow up, get married, and having babies.
Right.
Very scientific there, Kent.
And his definition for the scientific method is like,
Yeah.
It's missing so many steps. Make an observation, make a test. That's all Kent says about it. It doesn't have anything about, creating a hypothesis or drawing conclusions.
Yeah.
Any of that.
I don't even think that when I was in school, like small children's school, not university, when we were first presented with like what is science and the mentioning of the scientific model in some to some degree, not even at that point, which was probably pretty early in my schooling, it was described so lacking as the way he's presenting it.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to start with, amoeba, becoming a human. How did the bacteria? How did it get legs and arms and eyes and ears and hair? It's not observable.
Do you think that maybe that chart is just an artistic expression of an actual?
I know it's art. It's perfect. It's nothing but artistic. It's a propaganda poster. There's no science to back up any of those lines between those animals. They have on these charts a human connected to a line to a whale. The kid's going to think humans and whales are related, and they came from an amoeba. This is a propaganda poster. This isn't science. I think there's quite a variety of whales out there. I don't know how many. They might have had a common ancestor called a whale. But you shouldn't connect them with a line to humans or ducks or frogs. Well, they are. They're all connected with lines. This is my point. This is a religious poster. This is not a scientific poster. It doesn't belong in our public school textbooks. It belongs in a religion class. That's all.
So you're okay with anything being taught in a science class that has been through the scientific method, though?
Science, well, we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate. We can observe gravity doing things. We can observe the velocity gravity pulls things down. 32 feet per second, or 9.8 meters per second. We can observe that. We can test it. We can do it over and over again, and it works. We can observe all that's why it becomes a law. There are laws of thermodynamics that we observe. We don't observe evolution.
How do we explain away then the novel testable predictions that evolution has made and confirmed thousands of times?
Oh, like what? What prediction have they made that's been confirmed?
I mean, famously, the first one was Darwin talking about a bird with fused fingers, and then they find the Archaeopteryx a few years later.
Yeah, so this is a great example, and I've made the same mistake in my debate with Kent one time, but not that Kent would know the difference. But Darwin's prediction was that they would find a proto-bird with unfused wing fingers, not fused, and 3 years later, I think they found Archaeopteryx. So this is a great example of a confirmed prediction. But yeah,
and sometimes Kent here actually brings up Archaeoraptor, which as you know, was like two fossils fused together. That wasn't. I think one was maybe part of an Archaeopteryx, but he always brings that up like that's the Archaeopteryx. I don't know if he'll do it here, but.
Yeah, I don't think he does this time, but I know what you're talking about. Deviant, did you want to add anything?
No, I was thinking about his. As we know, Kent has what's the word? A leaning towards
a tendency.
Pseudoscience and
yeah, that's one way to put it.
And fakes being made, like the Ica stones. And
I was just going to say that
the Fuckwad, Ron Wyatt, and types of that sort.
The chariots.
You have to excuse me. It's 7:30 in the morning, so. I'm even less comprehensive.
We all made sacrifices for this stream, so.
I know. That's why and now the audience have to.
It's 10:30.
No, but I actually think that he might very well be propagating these sort of hoaxes and fakes as a means to kind of prep his audience that everything is fake, and like removing their sense of a factual actual reality so that he can dictate what is factual actual reality.
Right. That's why he brings up Nebraska Man and Piltdown Man.
Exactly.
Why?
I think that's why he is like switching between promoting known fakes and frauds, meanwhile using not
other
the same,
fakes and frauds. Yeah.
Exactly. To say, look, they are wrong. I think it's part of the manipulation that he uses.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
So I have a slightly random question that I'm going to pose to the panel and our lovely viewers. So you guys know about Careless Linnaeus. I like to think that his name was actually Careless. Like, oh, he's so careless, he didn't even care. But he did species, family, order, genus, all that. But if I'm sure you guys are familiar with the term strain, like in terms of botany or biology,
like a strain of marijuana.
Sure, I wasn't going to say it, but yeah. So a strain is
Blue
a
dreams
variant. a strain is a genetic variant, a subtype or culture within a biological species. So is that, where does that fall on the sort of Linnaean hierarchy? Like, does that mean they're the same species, they're just different genetically, or is it like
they are of the same species, but vary in minor ways, so that actually not comparison, what Big Bang Mama just said is actually a very good example, because with cannabis you have different strains. They can all fertilize each other, so they can reproduce, but they have various qualities to them that makes them, for instance, they can grow in colder climates. They are more bushy. I would say they are kind of what we talk about race when we talk about dogs or cats or cows.
I mean, it's just a variant within a species, I think.
Yeah, and of course we know that nature is not as neatly divided as we like to think it is with our terms. And in botany, I'm reading on Wikipedia, but I guess in botany and virology, there's really no universally accepted definition for the term. But for botany, it says it refers to the collective descendants produced from a common ancestor that share a uniform morphological or physiological character. And a strain is a designated group of offspring that are either descended from a modified plant, produced by conventional breeding or biotechnological means, or which result from a genetic mutation. So I would love to ask Kent what he thinks about this. Like, how does strains fit into baraminology? But the reason I was asking is because I think in the chat Joe mentioned that he was going to talk about yeast, and because I have a Google Doc, which is, whenever I think of a good question that I'd like to ask Kent, I always go and write it down immediately, because I'll forget it otherwise. And one of the things that I written down was, basically you could show him a picture, a slide that has two pictures of microscopic fungi, and on the left it would be baker's yeast, and on the right it would be brewer's yeast. And I thought they were different species, but they're actually the same species. They're just different strains. Because I was going to ask him, are these two fungi the same kind? So that's why I asked.
Oh, I always love it when people talk about Carl von Linné.
Yep.
And it has exactly the mutations that they expected.
Okay, if you find a bird that has claws on its wings, like Archaeopteryx, that does not prove it's intermediate. You found bones in the dirt. You might have found a species that always existed exactly like that and went extinct. You don't know it's intermediate.
Yeah, the species just happened to exist all on its own. It just happened to be exactly intermediate between these two other unrelated species. That makes sense.
And he always says it's in dirt, whereas it's in a layer of rock that's been dated, and that's why it's considered transitional. It's because of the time of the layer, the date of the layer that it's in.
Yeah, fossils are permineralized bone that are in a rock matrix. It's not bones.
They're not bones in dirt.
Bones.
Yeah. And he's been corrected on that, and of course he doesn't want people to think about the different layers because it doesn't fit his. He thinks the geologic column is 100% false.
Right. So I missed a super chat from Roshina for $4.99. It says Kent loves conspiracy theories like B-17, moon landing photos, hoax, YEC, chemtrails, cryptids, etc. He sure does.
Yeah, all of them. except the moon landing. I think Kent believes in the moon landing.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
he
he
thinks
does.
that the photos were fake, but they did land on the moon. Some weird halfway conspiracy theory belief
I mean,
like
he
that.
believes all the craters were created from the fountains of the deep bursting open.
Yeah, the lunar bukkake hypothesis.
Happens to fit their religion of something changing and growing fingers. But see, you don't know that it's not an example of an extinction. That's why it would not be science. Make
So
it
do
happen
you-
again.
So do you think that God is just deceiving us then?
I missed this one too from Roshina for $4.99. It says Kent doesn't believe in anything but the electromagnetic force. He's a gravity denier after all. Is he a gravity denier? I don't think he understands gravity properly, but
Yeah.
flat earthers deny gravity. I mean, it almost seems like he is in this debate because he's saying like, how would these things come together? If they're all blowing apart, like he seems like he is kind of denying gravity in a way.
He's almost saying that God is doing the gravity, and I don't know.
I mean,
That's what he said about the strong
did say
nuclear
that,
force.
Yeah, gravity pulls things down.
Yeah.
Gravity doesn't pull things down. Even I know that.
Yeah, that's like how he says, "Oh, rivers don't flow uphill." Yeah, rivers don't flow uphill. They flow from a point of higher elevation to lower elevation. There is no
Yeah.
downhill, It's like when I was a kid, I thought that if you were on the North Pole and you teleported to the South Pole instantaneously, or just to the exact opposite position on the globe from where you are now, would things look upside down from your perception? But they wouldn't, because we're just too small. Although it is kind of neat to think about.
Wouldn't you be standing on your head if you teleported the way you were to the opposite side of the earth?
Well, no, the idea is that you teleport with your feet are on the ground. Your feet are on the ground, but you're just on the exact opposite point, because there are, any point on the globe, like where you are now, there's a point on the exact other side, and like 9 times out of 10, you're going to be in the middle of the ocean. But there's a term for it. There's a term. I saw it a Vsauce video about this, but yeah.
You're kind of blowing my mind right now.
Well, what do you think? Do you think it would just look normal, or do you think
so? If you're standing in your living room, and then say Australia is the exact opposite. So if you're taken from your living room and just taken as is, and then say that you're taken through the earth to the opposite side of the planet. Aren't you going to be on your head when you get to the opposite side of the planet?
Well, I guess you
Does
would.
anybody
But
know what I mean here?
Well, you're saying like traveling through the earth. I'm saying like you just teleport to the other coordinate on the globe, but your feet are on the ground.
Your feet are still on the ground. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. I think it would just look normal.
Imagine how it would be otherwise if you were teleporting like they do in Star Trek in space. You could end up any direction, wherever.
Well, I don't want to open a can of worms, but the teleportation on Star Trek, it's like, is it really you that's coming out on the other end of the teleporter, or is it destroying the original version of you and creating a new version of you on the other end?
It's rearranging the molecules that make your body, right?
I don't know.
Isn't the teleportation the molecules flying through, being disassembled and then flying through space at the speed of light and then reappearing on wherever you want them to appear?
That's what I'm saying. Like, disassembling. If I disassembled all your atoms, that kind of sounds like I would just be killing you, right? Like,
Yeah, but
please don't do that.
One of the issues with teleportation and why it's not possible.
Right. Anyway, let's.
These are good questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, God.
I plan on finishing this video. I don't know about you guys, but I'm in it for the long haul. But we're about halfway through, so let's keep on going.
very clear. He's made it clear. All cows produce cows. And he said 20 times in the first 7 chapters in the Bible, they will always bring forth after their kind. Now, if you've chosen to deceive yourself, that's your problem. But God said they'll bring forth after their kind. That's all anybody sees.
But if we're looking at this from a scientific view, we're not going to invoke God, right? Because yeah. So
I love that. I love that question. And I can't believe Kent actually said yes. Like that is one of the best moments of this debate right there. I'm going to rewind that.
Intermediate. You found bones in the dirt. You might have found a species that always existed exactly like that and went extinct. You don't know it's intermediate. It happens to fit their religion of something changing and growing fingers. But see, you don't know that it's not an example of an extinction. That's why it would not be science. Make it happen again.
So do you think that God is just deceiving us then?
No, God's very clear. He's made it clear. All cows produce cows. And he said 20 times in the first 7 chapters in the Bible, they will always bring forth after their kind. Now, if you've chosen to deceive yourself, that's your problem. But God said they'll bring forth after their kind. That's all anybody sees.
But if we're looking at this from a scientific view, we're not going to invoke God, right? Because
yeah, that's one of my favorite. I give you points for that exchange. There's another exchange. I think I forgot to mention it. I don't know if we passed it already, but there was another exchange that I thought was really good.
And Kent did agree there, by the way.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if maybe he just wasn't listening or if he, but
he wasn't listening. He wasn't listening for sure.
It's still a good moment though.
Yeah.
So I give you points for that one, Kentucky Atheist. You get 1 point.
Yeah. So within science, we look at evolution and they make lots of these predictions. We'll find these fossils and then they find them.
So right here, this is a good point, but I think I would love to see more specifically. I think the best example to bring up here is Tiktaalik.
Right. And so go into some detail about Tiktaalik at this point, because you can basically summarize Tiktaalik in a minute.
Sure.
It's not really, the scientist predicted an area on the planet where you would find sedimentary layers of that particular age in the Silurian or whenever it was. And they located that place in northern Canada, and they went there, and it took them years to dig and find a fossil. But when they found it, they found exactly what they were looking for, a transition between fish and amphibian. And Kent would not be able to respond to that. He would just blanketly deny it.
Yep. So because I asked Kent this one time. So really, if there's a few takeaways that I'd like Kentucky Atheist to take away from this video, it would be, I think that there's many good points that he brings up during this debate, but I would have liked to see him sort of focus in on some of those points and get more specific with them and challenge Kent on some of these things rather than just sort of bringing up the topic. And it's a good point, but it's, Kent then basically gish gallops onto the next thing. And that's when it's good to say, hold on a second, like, I still want you to explain this. How to explain this specific example. So there are lots of good points brought up, but it's good to give specific examples because, like you said, because I've asked Kent about this in a previous debate, how is it that the Neil Shubin and his fellow scientists were able to narrow down to 3 specific locations of where they thought Tiktaalik might be, the fossil they were looking for? And, they went, I don't know if they went to all 3. I know that they one of the locations was very close to the university that they worked at the time, but it wasn't there. And then there was another location. And then when they went to Nunavut, Canada, the islands there is when they actually found it. And my question to Kent was, how was it that they were able to do that? Like, they found the fossil exactly where they were looking for it, and he just couldn't answer it. you know?
Right, right. And I think a good reason for bringing up those details is because it ties in all the different things. It ties in the fossil record, it ties in radiometric dating, it ties in the geologic column. And it's the corroboration of these things that's the most powerful evidence for evolution. It's the corroboration between fossils and the radiometric dating and the molecular clock and all these things. It's that, and biogeography. And Kent can't answer those corroborations. He can just nitpick individual details of it, but he can't go and address how the evidence supports each other, I guess. Does that make sense?
It does. And the time period that I think you were talking about for Tiktaalik is the Devonian. And
sounds right.
Yeah, what they were looking for was the clade Osteichthyes, which is the ray fin fishes that have swim bladders. And I think Aaron talked about this in his video exchange debate with Kent about how vertebrates inherited increasingly ossified skeletons that were cartilaginous.
Right.
And that's part of the evolution of the lobe-finned fishes and the Sarcopterygian fishes. And the thing that annoys me about Kent is that he loves to look at a fossil in isolation when Tiktaalik is amazing just by itself, but you also have to look at the lineage, like the other. I'm gonna share my screen real quick, if that's okay. And it is because I'm hosting this stream. It's my channel. I win.
object.
Okay. So see, we have Tiktaalik here, and these are the late Devonian lobe-fin fishes and amphibious tetrapods. And I'm not going to be able to say all these names. Oh, there's the coelacanth. Ken hates the coelacanth.
Right.
But yeah, so this is the lineage that you need to look at. You can't just focus on one fossil, because when you look at the lineage, you see that there are similarities and that it's a gradient moving from the lobe-finned fishes to the land-dwelling tetrapods. And so in your face, Kent. All right. Anybody else wanted to add anything before I?
Well, the only thing I'd want to add is something else that Kent ignores is all the fossils that are found with that organism that you're looking at. And all the other fossils, if you're looking at a fossil from a beach, you're going to find other animal fossils that lived at the beach. And Kent doesn't want to think about that because he wants everything to be thought of as something from the global flood, which would tend to mix things around. So you wouldn't have a sequence of fossils from one particular paleo environment. So that's annoying that Kent does that.
Many times within genetics, we see the same thing. We predict that we'll find certain genes in animals that are related in certain ways, and we do. The hereditary is explained through genetics.
See, I feel like Joe is being a lot more articulate here than he was in the early part of this debate.
He's asking some good questions here. I think he's handling this segment really good.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we, if we take evolution out of that, which is the basis for so many other branches of science, how do we then account for wiping out whole branches of science?
Oh, I love science. I'm very familiar with most of the branches of science. I'm not super good at chemistry. I got a lousy chemistry teacher in high school. I always stared at the back wall while he talked over everybody's head. But you're saying
chemistry too.
Yeah. No. Listen to what he says, because this is really funny. Okay. I think you might actually be able to get a short out of this, Big Bad Mama.
So within science, we look at evolution, and they make lots of these predictions. We'll find these fossils, and then they find them after the fact, and it's happened many times. Within genetics, we see the same thing. We predict that we'll find certain genes in animals that are related in certain ways, and we do. The hereditary is explained through genetics. So, I mean, how do we, if we take evolution out of that, which is the basis for so many other branches of science, how do we then account for wiping out whole branches of science?
Oh, I love science. I'm very familiar with most of the branches of science. I'm not super good at chemistry. I got a lousy chemistry teacher in high school. I always stared at the back wall while he talked over everybody's head. But
Everybody.
I just thought that was gold, because I've never heard Kent say this before,
Right. No,
No.
he's never portrayed himself as anything but the best,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just like the fact that he is blaming the teacher, even though
Right.
he was the one not paying attention.
He got the C or the D in the class, but it's the teacher's fault.
When I was in high school and I took chemistry, it was not an easy class. And I remember at the beginning of the
No.
year, there was this girl who she was real popular, and I had a couple other classes with her, and I'm not saying she was unintelligent, but she was more interested in texting during the class than really paying attention. And she would fight with the teacher, and I just remember she got transferred to a different class period or something. But I just remember at the beginning of the year she wasn't paying attention in class, and I was really struggling with chemistry. So I literally said, like, okay, I'm just going, during this one specific class, I'm just going to pay all of my attention. I'm going to devote to what the teacher's saying, because if I fall behind for like one class or two, I would just be lost,
Yeah.
And I made a good grade that year, but I had to buckle down and actually pay attention. Kent is literally admitting here that he was just looking up at the wall during class, because it's not like they had cell phones back then, during the Flintstones era.
That is a good one. I'll have to try to clip that.
Yeah, seriously. I think you should, because you have to rejoice whenever you hear a new thing from Kent, that's not from the script. That's something that should be recorded for future posterity.
Especially when it's a weakness that he's admitting,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Alrighty.
you're saying they find fossils, and this answers a prediction. You're assuming then that the layers of the
Anybody else in the chat want to join? The link is in the side chat, just so you
Earth
know.
are different ages, the geologic column. I pointed out for years there is no such thing as a geologic column. The layers are not different ages. All over the world, petrified trees are found standing up, running through these layers. All the layers formed in 1 year, Noah's flood. Polystrata fossils, they're common. There are thousands of them.
Yeah.
So your whole geologic column, I know that's your Bible, and you believe in it, but it's not. To say we found a fossil in this layer, and therefore it is a certain age, is ludicrous.
Are you
all
aware
the
of
layers?
that? Oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, Kent.
Yeah. All the fossils may
Just makes me sick.
be sorted based upon their body density. You might find reptiles in the same layer. If you had a worldwide flood and the dead animals are floating around, they would tend to settle out according to body density. Sure, they might, probably all the birds are in the same layer, because birds have hollow feathers, hollow bones, they float. It has nothing to do with evolution.
Oh, hollow bones, just like dinosaurs have hollow bones. And if I'm sparing Joe from the unflattering pausing screenshots, so you owe me for that one. But I have specifically challenged Kent on this one point. So if in a future debate with Kent, if this comes up again, what I challenged him on was, you say that what does he say, that clams are at the bottom and birds are at the top? Because
yeah, it's ridiculous.
And so because birds would be flying around, and so they would live the longest until they ran out of gas. And what I asked him was, well, what about the flightless birds? Where would they be found? And his mind just imploded. It was like Kent Hovind brain dividing by zero. Like he could not answer it. Which is the best, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. All right, Steven.
Did you see what what the Joe said in chat? I think he was less
which comment?
guarded because he thought I was dumb. Then, yeah.
Well, in
I think
Kent's
he was less
defense,
guarded because he thought I was dumb.
I mean, he
Or
is from
more dumb,
Kentucky.
maybe.
He is from Kentucky. So, I mean, I thought he was dumb when I first met Joe.
He is, but he is also wicked smart.
That's true. That's true. All right, let's keep going.
There's a much better explanation.
What?
Simple hydrologic sorting.
But when we look at those layers, we don't see hydrologic sorting. We see them arranged by complexity, about simpler forms to more complex forms.
Well, there's no such thing as there's no such thing as a simple life form. Okay, no such thing. A bacteria is not simple.
Body plans are the things that I'm pointing at mostly here. But we see complexity over time as we go forward. And as
well, again,
sorry.
Go ahead.
As for polystrate fossils, are you aware of the explanation for polystrate fossils?
I've heard some really weak attempts to explain it. I think it's much better to say the layers formed within a few hours of each other. Every tide going up and down is sucking water in and out, making layers. To have a tree stand there over millions of years is ludicrous.
How does that layer? Well, okay, so that's not. I'll wait till we get into the rest of it before we go there. But
okay, I will.
Can you pause that?
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna go get my other ice pack, and I'll be right back.
Okay. So Kent is misrepresenting what geologists think about those trees. Geologists don't think that those layers were laid down over millions of years. I mean, they think that they were times of rapid deposition. The tree recovers, grows through the layer. The next year, there's flooding, brings another layer, on and on and on for however long that tree lives. But those layers can form relatively quickly, geologically speaking. So Kent immediately says those layers can't be millions of years. And it's like, nobody believes they are. So he's wrong there. Deviant, do you have anything there?
No, I had some connectivity issues, so I kind of missed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I'm back now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Completely.
I can hear you. Oh, am I roboting?
Faced. Okay, good. No, you both were, and so were I, but only to me, I think, because it's much better now.
All righty, I'm back. How's my volume, by the way?
Good.
While I'm standing up,
It's
let me
good.
see if I can. So, let me turn my light off. I want to show you guys something. We'll take a little intermission, but yeah, I got my thing here. But this is my mom made me an Easter basket.
Oh,
Dr. Pepper
nice.
flavored Peeps.
Oh.
So happy Easter.
Oh.
When is Easter? Is it tomorrow?
Happy Easter.
Yeah, tomorrow, I think.
Yeah. So
I went to church tonight, actually.
You did? How was that?
It was pretty interesting. I go to a Byzantine church, and so it's really old school. The guy's got this really fancy robe and a big beard, and one of those things that the
Isn't that Santa
incense.
Claus?
It was good, and they sing too, that's why I go, because they sing the liturgy.
Oh,
No,
did you get up on stage and play guitar?
No.
To answer your question, I believe that any sorting that there is of the fossils, and it's not real good sorting, is best explained by habitat. Clams are found at the bottom because they already live at the bottom, okay? Or best explained by mobility. Clams can't run very fast. Of course, they got trapped first in the flood. Maybe by intelligence. Clams aren't too smart, as far as anybody can tell. Maybe by body density. Clam feathers are heavier, or clam shells are heavier than bird feathers.
I like Joe's face here.
He's like, where do I even start with this?
Well, I mean, I think, let's see. this is only this is halfway through the debate, but still, I know from firsthand experience that the mind fatigue is real. Like once you get like deep into a debate, especially against Kent, it's mentally exhausting. It really is.
Yeah, I could imagine. Whenever I talk to him, I get tired after about 7 minutes. So I can't
Yeah,
imagine
seriously.
going for a full 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah, especially, I don't know if my debates are unique, but some of my debates have been so incredibly repetitive with Kent, like especially the carbon dating one was really bad. If you remember that, like it was because it was literally like Kent, I knew exactly what points Kent was going to bring up. I refuted them in my opening statement, and then we spent an hour going over those same points over and over again. And it was just like, Kent, like, geez, like, yeah. That's why I say debating Kent is not easy. It's very difficult. So I commend Joe for agreeing to do this, especially when I feel like he didn't really have to, because Kent is off of YouTube and it's been a while since there. Oh, I think we lost Deviant. There was a time. There was like a golden era of Kent Hovind debates. Would you say?
Yeah.
Like a few years back. Like
Yeah.
maybe there was more than one time period, but there was a time when there was like a lot of debates with Kent happening, and they were really good.
I mean, he had the debates kind of fall into different eras. There's the pre-prison debates, and then there's kind of what I consider the best ones were kind of the era after he got out of prison until maybe
2016.
Yeah, 2016 to maybe 2020, 2021, maybe. The Bill Ludlow, Herman Mays and Aaron Raw and King Crocoduck. I think that those were really good. And you had some good ones with him, They just weren't, they were a little later than that time period.
Yeah. Yeah, the non sequitur debates. Yeah, there was like the early there. Yeah, you have like the early era, which is him against college professors, which I'll give Kent credit. Like he actually did go out and debate against real college professors, and they drew crowds, those debates,
Yeah.
Although some of them were just like the local church turning out to support Kent. But still, like the Berserkly debate, there was a whole auditorium of people there.
Yeah, I mean, he went
That would
into
have been
their
fun to go to in
territory.
person, I bet. Sorry, what did you say, Big Dad Mama?
Oh, that's okay. I was just saying that
he interrupted you.
He did go in their territory, which is, that is something to say.
Yeah, yeah. So you have those debates where Kent was kind of like, he was kind of like, what's the opposite of disheveled? Like, he was put together, he wore suits, and
Yeah.
he was a little bit more articulate,
He was
I think.
polished. Yeah, very polished at that point.
Yeah. His arguments were still bad, but yeah, so you had those debates, and then Kent goes into jail and he comes out like this kind of just bitter, angry Hawaiian shirt wearing weirdo. And then you had a lot of those classic ones about like King Crocoduck, Bill Ludlow. And then you sort of had the more modern era, which was like, Marguerite, Grayson, me, Planet Peterson. So many people have debated Kent, and yeah. And now that's kind of over, which is a little bit sad, but that's why I appreciate him, stepping up to the plate, So
Right.
Credit to Joe. You
Good
get a
job.
second point.
So if there's any sorting, and there is not a real good, clear sorting to the fossils, but if there is, it doesn't prove anything other than a worldwide flood.
Why
But again,
do we not?
I'm not asking that to be taught in schools.
See right there. And I've called Kent out on this before. I hate to keep saying that, but he said that all you can tell from a fossil is that it died. But he just said, if there's a certain layering of a certain ordering of the fossils, that wouldn't prove evolution. That could only prove a flood. But how could you tell anything from the ordering if all you can tell from a fossil is that it died?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good point.
and I called into Kent's open mic one time, and I literally got him to concede this point, because there's a video on my channel called Kent Concedes All My Points on an Open Mic. And so watch that one, and watch a bunch of my other videos while you're at it, because my videos are good.
Asking you to stop teaching that these layers are different ages, and you can prove that by the fossils. You can't prove any such thing.
Can be taught as well.
I love geology. Geology is the study of the earth. Ask me questions about the earth. I can tell you a lot about it. Okay? But
Pause. Kent thinks that stone, the bedrock, mountains, is literally just dried sand, or not even that. He thinks that stone reacts to water the same way that mud reacts to water. And I hate that I almost said water the way he does. It was a close one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Kent, I brought this up with Kent the other day, is he doesn't know anything about lithification, how sediment turns to rock. He just thinks it undergoes desiccation, the moisture is removed, and then it turns into a rock at that point. He doesn't know anything about compaction or cementation or these other processes. So I called him out on that, because, he's saying that all the layers of the Grand Canyon were soft, and I'm asking him, well, why are the ones at the base tilted? How did that occur? And he could not answer that.
He thinks it's reversible as well, because he thinks that if rock gets wet, it somehow gets soft again.
Right.
Yeah. Like, he's thinking of dirt,
Yeah.
And I called him out about if it was so soft, why are the cliffs so sheer in the Grand Canyon? You would have sloughing of the different slopes, and you wouldn't have those sheer cliffs like you have, because it's hard rock in the Grand Canyon. Yeah, he has no answers to that stuff.
Wait, are we sitting here saying that Kent don't know shit about what he's talking about?
Kent, you can go kick rocks.
He lives in a gravel pit, so there's plenty of them.
So we're going to keep going, but I may have to do a part 2 of this, because it's getting a little bit late.
Yeah, let's do
I can't believe we've already gone 2 hours.
Oh my.
But let's keep going.
But it's evolution has nothing to do with it.
Oh, and I have to say that, yes, Steve McRae is super transphobic. Like, it's ridiculous. What the heck happened to that guy?
Does he even have a channel anymore, or?
Yeah, non sequitur.
Okay,
I probably get more live viewers than him, though. Nope.
Okay.
They might have changed it slightly, but that's non sequitur still. But nobody really watches it anymore.
Well, Kyle went off the deep end.
Well, true, but there were mistakes made on both sides, though. I mean,
right.
But yeah, we don't even have time to get into all that. Let's keep going.
The layers, I flipped this over this morning or yesterday. It made probably 20 layers in a matter of a few minutes.
Yeah.
Are the layers different ages? No. They're all in here at the same time.
Do they harden into rock overnight?
Sure. I could take the water out, let it dry out, and they would. Now, it didn't need to be overnight. But layers form rapidly.
Good question.
Well, layers can form rapidly. If I shuffle a deck of cards, is the top card younger? No.
See, this is what I'm talking about, Joe. Like, so I'm going to award him a 3rd point here. Let's watch that exchange again, because this is what I'm talking about. Challenging Kent on a specific point.
I'm asking you to stop teaching that these layers are different ages, and you can prove that by the fossils. You can't prove any such thing.
Can be taught as well.
I love geology. Geology is the study of the earth. Ask me questions about the earth. I can tell you a lot about it. Okay, but evolution has nothing to do with it. The layers, I can get I flipped this over this morning or yesterday. It made probably 20 layers in a matter of a few minutes.
Yeah.
Huh. Are the layers different ages? No. They're
Are
all in
they-
here at the
are they
same time.
rock? Do they harden into
Huh?
rock overnight?
Sure, I could take the water out, let it dry out, and they would. Now, it doesn't need to be overnight. But
And they would
layers
still be
form
layers?
rapidly. Well, layers can form rapidly. If I shuffle.
Did you hear what he said? What Joe said at the end there?
No, but I mean,
Well,
he made a
either
good
way,
point
this is
there.
good. Yeah, this is good, and I love the look on his face when he's challenging Ken here, because yeah, the sand art toy, the layers, they wouldn't be. They didn't all form at the exact same time, did they?
No, the sand art toy is the layers are being laid down in time. It just happens to take a minute or whatever time it takes, but you're getting a layer laid down and then a layer on top of it. And before I
Yeah.
forget, I want to talk about this thing that Kent brings up regarding the deck of cards, shuffling a deck of cards.
Yeah.
That's not how stratigraphic layers are laid down or deposited. It's one card's laid down, then another card is laid on top of that, another card is laid on top of that, and it keeps going. And sometimes cards are taken away and eroded away, but there's no shuffling happening. He brings that up every time.
Right. Like, oh, and before I forget, we have another super chat from Roshina. It says Leviticus 19:19 says cows can bring forth from diverse kinds. It's just illegal, forbidden to do so. Oh, I'll have to look that one up. But yeah, thank you for the super chats, Roshina. I really appreciate all of your generosity as usual. And I'm not sure, but I just wanted to mention that and take credit for this, as I should get credit, that I donated $10 to the fundraiser on Joe's channel for the ARC protest.
Oh, nice.
I'll
have to do that too.
30.
I can give you the PayPal link if you want. I think I still have it.
Did you hear what Deviant said?
Oh no, sorry.
I donated $30.
Oh, well.
And I don't even have an income.
But thank you both.
Yeah, and I really I am an introvert. I'm a hermit crab. I like to stay in my depression cave, but I really want to try and make it out to that ARC protest if possible.
Me too. Me too.
Because Kent might go there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a big atheist meetup. So I'm thinking about it.
Here's my prediction that Kent will try to fundraise, and then he won't end up going, because I don't think Kent wants to confront people like R and Ra and a group of atheists like that.
How about Eric? Isn't his son Eric there?
I wouldn't be
surprised. Eric went to one of them because he talked to R and Ra at one of those, but
that might be awkward itself if Kent and Eric are in the same.
That'd be a great video to get.
Yeah, seriously. But no, like Kent has always, not that I think Arn would do anything like this, but Kent has always bordered on saying things where it's towards Arn, where it's sort of like, well, those would be fighting words, Kent. He talks to him, and I hate to almost quote Lupin here, but he would not talk to him in person the way that he talks to him online. For all Kent's accusations, he is the ultimate keyboard warrior.
Right. Yeah. That's why I doubt he's even going to go.
Yeah. Like he
might
was saying,
send some of his acolytes, but
yeah, we're going to send some of his crew. You think he'll send Bolin there?
And Joseph, probably.
I mean, that would make more sense, I think. I mean, that would be good.
Even that would be interesting.
Yeah, seriously. But I would be happy to debate either one of them in person. I'll be nice. I won't be a firebrand like Arn is. Maybe I can be kind of mean sometimes. So Deviant Outcast, do you want to try and read this username? For the super chat? Sorry.
Yeah. Grungivaldi Gurnison. Grungivaldi Gurnison.
Yeah, for $5. It says, wait a minute, aren't angels and humans different kinds? So how did they bring forth the Nephilim? Oh, good point.
Yeah.
I might have to add this to my list of questions for Kent.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I'm going to do, actually. So thank you for the super chat, though. You guys have been very generous, and we have another one from Deconstructing Lore 42, who's been here from the beginning of the stream. So thank you for watching for this past 2 hours. I appreciate that. And it says, I want to remind Kent that worms and leaves and plants make more dirt. So no, all the dirt is not the same age. Yeah, that's a good point. What do you think about that, Big Bad Mama?
I think that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, let's go on.
Pull a deck of cards. Is the top card younger? No, they're all the same age.
I don't agree how hydrologic sorting works. I mean, I just don't think that explains why we don't see things like sauropods with humans, like why we don't see any later mammals in the Cambrian layers. Like,
Gentlemen, that's 10 minutes. We're going to go.
Well, let me answer that one, Stephen.
Okay.
First of all, you're claiming we don't see those. I don't think you could prove that. Okay. But if indeed fossils are sorted, again, there's a much better explanation: hydrologic sorting. Layers form horizontally, not vertically. Watch the movie Experiments in Stratification. The layers, as the water's moving a certain direction, multiple layers form. The layers are not different ages. They're forming horizontally.
Do they form horizontally in the sand art tour?
So
Sand art toy?
there
Why is
is
that
some how you rebut this is the fact that there are limestone layers, like in the Grand Canyon, multiple limestone layers of different ages. And limestone forms by precipitation of calcium carbonate through the water column, settling down onto the ocean floor, forming lime mud. So this Experiments in Stratification doesn't take into account limestone, and it completely ignores radiometric dating. Whoever did, I forget the guy's name that did that, but it's really poor. That did the video Experiments in Stratification.
Oh, the French guy with the funny name.
Right, that guy.
Yeah.
Not vertically, but this whole geologic column is dumb. It doesn't.
Well, I think that I agree that you can form layers that way with different materials. They'll sort hydrologically when left suspended in water. But the layers we see are well-defined layers. And again, we've never found animals where they're not supposed to be.
I disagree. I think I can show you thousands of examples where they have. I've been to Glen Rose, Texas, where they find dinosaur and human footprints together. I've interviewed people who've seen dinosaurs still alive, like Loch Ness Monster and Lake Champlain Monster and Mokele Mbembe in the Congo swamp. So I think your whole religion of evolution.
Sorry.
What's so funny? What's so funny there, Dad, Mama?
It's just funny when Ken is talking about the Loch Ness Monster, like it's just fact, you know.
All these things, like the
Mokele
collective
and
fact
Mbembe.
too. Yeah,
ridiculous.
I love our stream we did about Mokele and Mbembe. That was
fun.
The guy running around on his webcam. You remember that?
Was fun. Yeah, we were with Aiden. That was hilarious.
Yeah, and we never realized how really racist that whole Mbembe thing is. How do you say it? Mokele Mbembe?
Mokele Mbembe.
Mokele Mbembe.
Yeah.
Aiden made a good point about that, how it's really kind of,
it's super
prejudice to refer to Africa as this unexplored, jungle wasteland that we know so little about, as if no one's ever lived there,
And the people that lived along the river, it's like, of course there's people living along the river. These guys act like they're Stanley and Livingston going into, deepest, darkest Africa. And they didn't even go. I'm convinced those guys didn't even go to Africa.
Yeah, and they were complaining about the car ride and the food and the village they stayed in. Like, yeah, I need
They
to go
ate
back and watch
rice.
it.
They just had rice.
Yeah. I don't know if you, I'm sure maybe you have, but if you haven't, you should go back and rewatch some of those streams that we've done because they really they hold up, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I have watched a couple of those. Yeah, they're
Yeah. The last stream, the plot to murder Ken Hovind, I enjoyed that one. I've gone back and watched that one like 2 or 3 times already. Aiden was really
nice.
on. He smoked a big bowl of crack before that stream because he was or something because he was really energetic.
Teaches something that's just simply not supportable by the evidence. And I've asked this question, I've never gotten an answer.
Never gotten an answer.
Okay, this
How
I
can you
know.
lie like
I
that?
already know what's coming.
How can he lie like that? You know, he know.
Evolutionists
Everybody's
teach
answered this.
and want us to teach and believe that the layers are different ages. You've already said that. Here's your geologic column. Okay. If this layer is 2.5 billion years old down here, Cambrian, and the Holocene's only 10,000 years old, where was all this dirt sitting for 2.4999 billion years waiting to land? This dirt is the same age as this dirt. Every speck of dirt in the universe is the same age, whether 6,000 or 6 trillion. If it came from a big bang, every speck of dirt in the universe is the same age.
Right.
Isn't it?
So that's not necessarily wrong, but I think geomorphology is the thing you're looking for. Because of land masses moving and changing and erosion and wind blowing it around over time, but tectonic movements and all that, we
Right.
recycle.
Very familiar with all that.
We recycle the rock.
Why is it necessary for Kent to say that?
Right.
I'm very familiar with all that.
Right. He has to be like he knows everything. But
Yeah.
Joe's giving a good answer here. I like it.
Yeah, I like how his attitude changes during the debate. He started to sort of toy with Kent a little bit. And for that reason, I will award him a 4th point.
Down into the mantle, which then is melted. And that's kind of what we call new rock. Like volcanic rock, we consider to be new rock, even though it's made out of materials that were already part of the earth.
Well, that was my argument. If you're moving it around, even changing it, metamorphic or igneous rock coming out of a volcano, it's still the same dirt. It's still the same molecules.
Well, we don't.
Moving it moving it from here to here. That's why if I shuffle a deck of cards, is the top card younger? That's what you guys are claiming. Because we moved it over here, we sank it down into the earth and melted it. Melted it, and it came back up. Therefore, it's now a different age. No. It's still the same dirt.
Okay, I'm going to make an analogy here. I don't know if it'll be a good one, but if I have like a glass of water and I take that water and I put it in an ice cube tray, and let's say I make 1 ice cube with some of the water. That ice cube has been from the time that ice cube finishes freezing, it has now been an ice cube for basically 1 second, and then you count up from there. You know what I mean? So it forms, and then the clock starts. So it changed. We moved the water. We changed its chemical makeup, and it's now a different structure. And that's when you start counting the age.
Right. It's a good analogy, I think.
Yeah.
It's not a different age.
It's a good analogy, and it's such a simple concept to understand that I can only assume that Kent fully knows how beyond the pale this is, but he keeps to it.
Yeah, he's purposefully obtuse about this because he knows exactly where those layers came from.
Yeah, and
it's been explained to him multiple times. I mean, and Joe mentioned it there: erosion and tectonic forces, and I think Joe even mentions the layers here. That's what you're dating, the layers. And so Kent knows that it's all about the layers, but he won't admit it.
No, because it would destroy his entire argument.
Yep.
organisms that laid down that layer are the different age. We don't, whenever we look at those things and we try to get an age of them, we don't look at just the age of the dirt. Like, for example, with carbon dating, we're measuring the amount of carbon and putting it in a ratio of what it, and we understand how much there should be because of solar rays and all that stuff. And the soil holds a certain amount of that. So whenever we look at that layer and we see that certain amount, we can say, oh, well, this is, this is this age. But usually the layers, the way that we age them are, and I know you love this, but we use index fossils. So we know the age of a particular animal, and we can compare it to things such as things that grow in the ocean, different reefs and stuff that we know grow on a certain time scale. We can confirm that age, and then we know that things in that layer are that age. So then they say, yes, that layer's that age. And I know you think that's circular reasoning. Oh, there it is.
Even the evolutionists think it's circular reasoning. American Journal of Science. Intelligent layman has long suspected circular reasoning in the use of rocks to date fossils and fossils to date rocks. The geologist has never bothered to think of a good reply. It cannot be denied. Let's see. They're arguing in a circle.
For a second.
The age of rocks by the age of the fossils, and the fossils by the age of the rocks.
So,
New Scientist magazine.
What year is that from?
So first of all, you're dating a layer absolutely by if there's volcanic layers on either side of it, or maybe bracketing on top of and below that layer, so you get a range of dates. Then you can use fossils that are in that layer that you have the range of dates for, and you can find those fossils elsewhere in other locations and have a good idea of what the date of that is. You're not dating it by the fossils. You're dating it by the initial absolute radiometric dating that you got from that first layer that you dated. So Kent is wrong there.
Deviant, you want to do anything?
Yeah, I was wondering what year and in the reference. I can't read it because my screen is very small.
It says 1983, November 10th, 1983.
Oh.
It's a pretty new reference for Kent.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I know I've looked at one of these. I've looked at some of these slides, and this one could be talking about archaeologists studying Egyptian artifacts. Because I know in my carbon dating debate, I don't know if you remember that, Big Bad Mama, but
yeah.
Rewind this a little bit, because some of these slides, one of them, Kent acts like the slide is talking about carbon dating itself, when really they're saying, if we get an Egyptian artifact and we carbon date it, and it says that it's 50,000 years old, like basically they know that that's not correct because they already have established dates for how old some of this stuff is. I don't know how old ancient Egypt is, but I assume that would be, way too old.
Yes.
Right.
And that's one, because kept asking, like, how do you know that these dates are right? And I said, well, because you can cross-confirm them with the dates of, objects that have known dates, among other things like tree rings.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, what Kent is refusing to acknowledge, even though I won't say that he doesn't know it, because I think he's more nefarious than that. I think he knows and is willfully ignorant, or plays willfully ignorant. When we date something within archaeology, we don't just take something that we find on the ground, stick it in a bag, go home, and then like do a C14 dating on it, and whatever result it is, that's it. We build our opinion from the context. Where is it found? What other material is around it? when do we know that they started making this? What technological advances has been made to create this pop, for instance? So it's multiple tests of the material, which of course includes both what I guess you call soft sciences and chemistry, physics, that sort of thing, scanning. And from that, we build a coherent image of what is it we have found. Which is why if you're at the dig site and you come down to a specific layer, that's the layer of interest, you don't start just ripping things out of the ground. You make detailed notes, and today you also, of course, photograph it, and you collect samples of the soil so that you can do, for instance, what's the word? On pollen analysis. And there's a whole
I have no
vast
idea.
machine that springs to work to, and of course you don't find just one thing, you find things in clusters.
Paleontology?
Pain
Yes, that's it.
is analogy. Yes, there we go. Paleontology?
Paleontology.
Paleontology. That's a new one. It's like taphonomy. I never knew what that was.
Yeah, me neither. I feel quite confused, and I don't know if it's because of me or if you did it to me.
Well, you asked what pollen analysis is? Or
yeah.
You did, yeah. It's spelled Paleonology. I didn't even know that was a thing.
So it's either palynology or paleontology.
I bet Kent would know. He studied science for 15 years.
He taught paleontology for 15 years.
Yeah. He taught every subject ever.
And
so
yet he wasn't good in school because his teacher was a bumfuck.
His teacher was bad, so that's why he looked at the wall instead of paying attention. Or he was looking at girls' skirts walking up the steps.
Yeah.
Spouting Bible verses as he went.
Yeah. Like his friend was absent from school that day, so they couldn't cover each other's eyes, even though it would be easier just cover your own eyes. But
yeah.
Okay.
No, but you see, then you could peek. You need a
good point.
But he dated 300 girls in high school, so all those girls he eventually ended up dating.
Yeah, he was a virgin on his honeymoon, though.
Right.
They didn't even
Some things don't add up.
Yeah. I actually did the math on that. Like, if Kent, was in high school for 4 years and he dated 300 girls, then that's 150 girls a year. And if you go to school for
9 months or whatever.
Yeah. Let's see. Or no, let's just we'll give him the full year. That's 12, we'll call it 12 relationships each month. He dated 12 girls each month.
12 different girls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Each time's a different girl.
Yeah. And
that's
then
believable.
If you
Sure.
if you divide that further, that's basically 2 girls per day. So he's starting and ending 2 different relationships every day for like 4 years straight. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to call it quits on this video.
Sure.
Maybe do a part 2.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you guys to join me again. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow, or maybe I'll give myself some time to heal. But I really appreciate you guys joining me, and I think this was a really good stream. Thank you to the people in the chat. We had like 50 or 60 live viewers, which is a lot more than Lupin does have this ever gets or will ever get. And geez, I want to count up the super chats just because I can. Let's see. We have $60 in super chats, so thank you.
Nice.
Thank you so much. Most of them from Roshina, but so I'll probably do a part 2. But I will say that Joe, I give you 4 points so far. So you're 34 and 4 because I counted about 34 mistakes you made. But I saw a lot of good things rewatching rewatching this debate, and I think you did a good job. So there's a lot you could improve on, of course, but my advice for when you're in the post debate haze, because you need a few days to recover. It's like being in a fugue state after you debate Kent. Just remember, like, don't go back and watch it and think, oh, I should have gotten Kent on this. I should have got him on that, or I messed up this part. I messed up that. You know, if you tried your hardest, if you did your best, and if you did your best, then you should have no regrets for the performance that you gave. You know what I mean? So just, try not to focus on the little things that you miss, because it's literally impossible to nail Kent on every single point in a debate. It's just impossible. You know what I mean? There's just not enough time. So
yeah, I mean, I really liked what Joe did with his line of questioning. I just thought that, like, when Kent was asking questions, he was completely off the topic. And I think even in a debate where you're asking the questions, the topic still needs to be followed. And I don't think Kent did that. And Bolin, as the moderator, did nothing to help that situation.
No.
But Joe, you did really good.
Surprise.
yeah.
Yeah, I would actually like to give, if I may, I would like to give Joe 5 extra points.
Okay.
We can set them in a parenthesis.
Now we'll just add them.
Okay. For showing up and being very polite and calm, and not, even though he allowed Kent to go down into his rabbit trails, I think he set up a very good repertoire with Kent to do more debates in the future.
Yeah.
And also, Joe is a very pleasant.
Yeah, Joe's just a good guy.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. So I might have given him an extra point for that.
I give
but
him
that's because
7
Kent
points.
is such a dipshit.
So, Deviant, was that 5 or 6 points from you?
Oh, it's 6. I said 5, but I missed 1, so it's 6.
And Big Bad Mama, what did
7.
you say? And I gave her 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so that as of the halftime score, it's 34-17. So not bad. We'll see how things play out in part 2. But the time has flown by. This really doesn't feel like 2 hours of watching a agonizingly boring Hovind debate. I really have enjoyed this. So thank you guys for joining me.
It wasn't boring. Yeah.
No. So go. I'm going to put a link to Joe's charity, or I guess you could call it a fundraising stream, in the description. Go and donate some money to the Ark Encounter. I saw some people donating $100, $1,000. More than one person that donated over $1,000, which is really cool to see.
Yeah,
So
I
That
think
is cool.
it's a perfect timing to have a get-together protest like this one. That's also building on a previous tradition of protesting at the Ark, because I think this is a time where so many people are just worn down and starting to give up due to the state of affairs in the US today.
yes,
And that makes having community and doing something together is so important to ignite that spark and go out and meet people and realize in real life that I'm not alone. We are people. There are people here who want to do things, who can make things happen. Because the worst thing that anyone can do right now is to give up.
sure.
So donate to the Ark Encounter Protest 2025. Go to the Kentucky Atheists YouTube site to watch the fundraiser, and there are some like ad commercial thingies and information there. Just do it. I don't want to be fucked in the ass by Putin just because Trump wants it, and I don't want my dear beloved friends in the US to be fucked anyway against their will.
Well said. And I have to say that going to these type of atheist meetups or conventions is really fun. I went to a Faithless Forum years back, and I have a picture of me and Aaron Ra.
Yeah, and Emma
And
Thorne.
yeah, well, no, I didn't meet Emma in person. I've never met her in person, but I met Gutsick Gibbon, Jackson
Gutsy
Wheat,
Gibbon.
Which is even
uh,
better.
yeah, Seth Andrews,
She's one of the best.
Holy Kool-Aid, lots of people. It was a lot of fun. Rationality Rules came all the way from the UK. So it is really surreal meeting people that you've just interacted with online in person, and it's a lot of fun. So I really hope that it's a good turnout in July. It's going to be hot as hell out there.
Yeah.
I will say. So bring water, but yeah, Ken Ham is a dick. So
Yeah.
we need to,
On that
something needs
note.
to be done about it. Let me see, before we go, let me see if I can find the other pictures I have from that.
You had a good one with Gutsick.
Yeah, it was me, Gutsick Gibbon, and Jackson.
Pollock?
Jackson Wheat. Right?
No, I love Jackson Pollock though. I actually we did a stream talking about modern art. Me and Aiden were watching PragerU videos, and one of the videos was talking about modern art, and Jackson Pollock came up, and I don't know if you've seen that stream, Deviant, but I love his paintings personally,
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I didn't really get it. And I'm not sure I necessarily get it now either, but I'm no longer of the mind frame that you have to get it, that there is necessarily something to get. It's more an expression of a creative inner need.
Exactly. It's about the it's not about the final image, it's about the act of creating the painting itself. That's why he called it like action
exactly.
painting.
Exactly.
Well, it's how it feels when you look at it. I mean, it's how
Right.
you identify with it. And some people can't identify with paintings that aren't representative of something, which is a shame, you know.
Yeah. But
They need a building or a person's face or something in order, you know, for them to label it as good art.
right. They think the only good art is portraits and stuff from, you know, the classical era, when that's just a different era of art that's also, you know, it's also important, you know.
Right.
It's just
Yeah,
yeah,
and
exactly.
art from that era had a very different purpose to
Right.
it. It's to you can compare it to like regular holiday photography of the modern day.
Well, a lot of it was like literally just people painted art that their patrons wanted. Like they did
Yeah.
what they were paid to do, you know? Like
Yeah.
Shakespeare wrote plays that his patrons wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that, you know, don't even get me started on that, because that's go and watch that stream if you want to see more about modern art and stuff, because me and Aiden both had a lot to say about it, and PragerU just has the worst videos. I mean, they really do.
Yeah, he's a dingus.
Yeah.
I'm
But
trying to switch up my use of derogatory not personal attacks.
ad hom attacks.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
you waited till the end of the stream to do it.
I know. I wanted to surprise you all.
All right. Let's see.
If I start with Hovind, it never ends.
Okay, so this is a picture of me. These are all the pictures I took at Faithless Forum. Well, not all of them, but yeah, this is me, Erica, and Jackson Wheat, and then me and Seth Andrews. So yeah, you know, atheist meetups are a lot of fun, and there was drinking and karaoke. Oz was there, and I saw him smuggle in a bottle of Crown Royal.
Cool.
And me and Erica had some beers, or she was drinking wine. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So go and attend if you can. But yeah, I'm gonna end the stream here. Check out my Patreon page if you want to support the channel, and also check out my Twitter page. I refuse to call it X. And if you want to support my channel past just liking the videos and subscribing and sharing the streams, you can also join my channel memberships. You get perks like custom emojis in the chat, and I'm going to start posting some members only videos too, because I see Kentucky Atheist does a lot of members only streams. I want to get into on that. But yeah, that's about it. I'm going to sign off, and thank you, Big Bad Mom and Deviant Outcast. Sorry. Let me start over. Thank you, Big
Thanks,
Bad Mom and
AJ.
Deviant Outcast, for joining me. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was
Is there
awesome.
anything you guys wanted to say before I end the stream?
No, just thanks for having me on, and hi to everybody in the chat. Take care, everybody. Bye, Deviant.
Bye. Take care, everyone. This was awesome.
I agree.